Yo, and we are live. Come one, come all. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't, and what we is here today. Today I got with me eggs for brekkie and glitter. Say hello, hello.
Hello,
Hello,
hello.
hello.
Hello, hello. And today we're going to be talking about the freaking insane chapter that was One Piece chapter 1053. Um, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. What were your thoughts on it? Either one of you go first. What was your takeaway from this chapter?
I
Green
liked
Bull
it.
is a monster, and I think we've finally got confirmation that the statement of this generation of admirals is stronger than the previous. I now feel like there's at least evidence to back up that statement, whereas previously I was like,
Interesting.
really? And then Green Bull's just come in and completely made me validate that statement.
I really really freaking loved Green Bull's introduction. I at this point in time, he from this just one chapter, he's already up there in my top two favorite admirals. I think
Yeah,
for me
I don't
personally,
know.
I'm just saying like I like the admirals, right? I appreciate Akainu, but I don't like Akainu. If that makes sense.
Kizaru and Fuji have a soft spot in my heart.
To me, I never cared a lot for Fuji. He was just kind of like I know this sounds bad. I just I like the character, but it was no like he didn't hit it to me as hard as like Aokiji, Kizaru. You know what I mean? And being a Paramecia, even though he's got a broken Paramecia, it just wasn't as like hype as like a high tier Logia as a combatant. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna lie. Like in order of least favorite to most favorite admirals, I'd probably say it's probably Fuji, Aokiji, Akainu, Green Bull, Kizaru. Just because
Okay.
and I like all the admirals, but like some are definitely just like more just there than others, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I felt until maybe approaching the time skip and stuff that Kizaru was a little bit like that, and then Kizaru really picked up for me. I find him really funny.
Dude just has no chill. But okay, let's just start this chapter off then, right from the top. So the chapter's called "The New Emperors." Um, we pick up with the Gorosei talking about the photo. So they now are aware that Luffy's awakened. I'm assuming this is Luffy that they're talking about. They could be talking about someone else. But I'm assuming they're talking about Luffy there. And the fact that they want to remove the D from the posters, which feels like too little too late. But gotta ask, do you think the remove the D from the name, is that in relation to just Luffy, just Blackbeard, or Luffy and Blackbeard?
I thought it was just Luffy. That was my. I
Yeah,
never thought Blackbeard would be the case.
Because,
no, that was the same. I thought, considering the reveal of his fruit and the significance of what that actually means, I felt like, especially when it comes to the bounties and Luffy seemingly getting the rough hand of things, considering how much he put in, I think they're trying to keep him under wraps or to prevent people from focusing on him too much. I'm a bit with eggs. I kind of was like, they're probably trying to make a less spotlight on Luffy given his significance. Um, there's
Yeah.
less attention they can draw to him and people paying attention and being like, hey, this dude's fruit's a little weird and digging into that, probably the better.
Yeah, it
so,
gives a
So,
lot of credence to the 3 billion bounty. That's
yeah.
the same as Law and Kid. It's
okay.
just kind of like he's just one of the three.
So, do you want to know
Yeah,
the beautiful
absolutely.
fact about that as well?
Mhm.
So, Kaido and Big Mum's bounties combined is 8,999,100,000 berries.
Yeah, right.
So the 3 bill is essentially what they did. That I always theorized with. You know how when they defeated Doflamingo, Law and Luffy both got 500 mil?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's the same sort of thing where they take the overall bounty of the threat level of who they were apparently fighting, and they split it equally between the parties involved, right? Which is what I always used in my mind. Is how I always felt like if Doflamingo had a bounty that was properly reinstated, as having all three types of Haki and Awakening, he'd probably be sitting around a bill, same as Jack. Which to me, that just cements that same mindset, considering they do the exact same thing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so we pick up where the Gorosei are trying to cover this up. We freaking finally get the name of one of the CP0 members. I cannot pronounce this dude's name to save my life. His name is Guernica. Maybe someone else
Yeah.
can pronounce this better.
And it would be how we say it without an accent, unless you wanted to fake an accent.
Oh, dude. But that's the flower-headed dude. Also, we see that the posters are already starting to roll out with Luffy on it, with the D and all that. Big News Morgans is just chuffed as anything, as he's just got this stuff just blasting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we get to see the updated wanted posters of all of the OG top Supernova, Law Kid, Luffy, all sitting on a bill equally. Are you happy with this bounty?
So
Narratively,
I'm-
yes, but it doesn't reflect, I think, what the outcomes were. The fact that Kid had the biggest jump,
Yeah.
but arguably did the least. Like Law sitting there going, "Really? We're the same? I don't like." It doesn't. It does not reflect actual talent of what happened in Wano. But I think that goes to show us, because I think people put a lot of stock in bounties, like, oh, this person's definitely stronger because they've got a high bounty. And I think it goes to show bounties are really at the whim of the government. It does not actually potentially reflect ongoing ability or what actually happened. And I think we see that with these bounties. For that reason, I would say they're not disappointing.
Hmm.
But that might be a red hot take. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it fits well
Within the narrative.
when you think about why. Yeah, when you think about why it is, but obviously it's not doesn't add up.
So I think there's something really interesting to add here. So what first things first, Kid has the official highest bounty jump in the entire series now, which is crazy, but man, good on him, right? A 2,530,000,000 jump. Pat on the back, mate. Take it, take your winnings and go. But I really need to point this out. With how hype this chapter was and how sick this was, we still only got 3 bounties. We didn't get bounties for any of the crew members or anyone else that was involved. I think actually because of this chapter, one of the people I'm going to be the most interested in seeing now is Killer, and what his bounty, Killer and Beppo, what their bounties jump to, because according to this and the mindset of the world at the moment, they're like Luffy is by far and large the one out in front, hence why he gets the title by the end of the chapter. But he's the rivals here. They are trying to sort of divvy it up between them, so they may give their right hand men a bigger bump than expected to try and catch them up into similar leagues to Zoro.
You're thinking something like Killer might have a similar bounty to Zoro?
Closer to it, yeah. Which obviously,
I think an argument against that could be that since Luffy is considered a Yonko, it makes sense for his crew to be a little bit higher tier.
yeah.
Whereas, like, these are the 3 main strong pirates kind of thing.
But what I'll say in the defense of that is, I'm just talking about the right hand men, right? Because
Yeah.
Luffy, his whole crew is wanted. His whole fleet is wanted.
Yeah.
These
he has a
guys
Rosé drop.
don't have that. So really, it would just be their top 2. You know what I mean?
That's the thing is, like, the world government could say they're all equally strong, and then somebody could be like, why is Luffy a Yonko and they're not? And they'll say, well, he has a fleet.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate.
This is potentially getting ahead of myself, and I'm not going to go into in depth about it until we get up to it. But can we please take a minute to appreciate Alvida is a commander, a
Yeah,
Yonko commander.
Mr. 3, Alvida, Richie, they're all
Like-
commanders now.
Like, could you imagine if Ace was alive and he's just looking around like, really? is that what's happening? Anyone
Isn't
can
this standard
just
now?
everyone
Well,
can just join in.
If
All right.
Buggy's a Yonko, she would be one of the
Whitebeard
commanders, wouldn't
rolling
she?
in. Whitebeard just rolling over in his grave.
Like, just logistically, since Buggy's a Yonko, they would be classified as commanders now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they are.
Which,
I mean, if Buggy got like a great pirate title at the end of the series, that would be absolutely hilarious.
do you know what I've actually, like, come to, like, softly lean back on now? This is a story about Luffy and Buggy, right? And then I would say that the next most important people are going to be Zoro and Kobe, right? And so think about it. Kobe goes from just this no-name guy at the beginning of the series, right? His dreams to become a Marine Admiral. For all we know, that just means a Vice Admiral or a Rear Admiral. You know what I mean? Doesn't necessarily have to be like the full-blown Admiral, you know? But you got to think about like the perception of like this guy goes from a absolute weakling, coward, right? He's someone that like oppressed him for years, rises to the rank of a commander, and he ends up bringing her in end of series.
Yeah.
Like, think of the justice of if Kobe manages to bring Alvida in end of series. Like, Kobe's big thing to become an admiral is maybe he takes down Emperor Buggy end of series.
That would be actually pretty hilarious.
That would be funny.
And that would like that would come full circle, where it's like the East Blue gang really like sort of just keeping it in clutch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, I'd really laugh if it's unlikely to happen, but I would really laugh to get, even though Kobe's busy with my girl Boa, Kobe's reaction to this information, just to see him be like, oh, you know, this pirate that I used to be on the crew of and tormented by is suddenly now on the crew of a Yonko. Like, I'd just like to see that reaction because he's worked so hard and he's obviously at a level where they think he can take down a warlord. So it'd be funny for that reaction to be like what his thoughts of that, because I imagine he'd be shook.
I actually
He'd be
think
shook.
I actually think the flip of it's going to be, it's not that he's shook. I think Helmeppo's going to be shook because I feel like Helmeppo knows about Alvida but doesn't really like, he was never a part of knowing who she was as a person, right? It's going to get to the point where she's a commander and he's going to be like, whoa, Kobe, wait, your captain used to be a commander? What? You know what I mean? And it's just going to be like internal gassing up Kobe, you know? Because
Yeah, hype, number one hype man.
Because at this point in time, right? Do you know what Kobe's in-house reputation is? Right? So, first things first, Kobe's had two senseis in the Marines, right? He's had Bogart, which Bogart is to Garp, what Rayleigh is to Roger, right? And then, after Bogart training up Kobe and Helmeppo to a certain point, Garp took over that training, right? So, Kobe has been personally trained by the right hand of the strongest Marine, and then personally gets trained by the hero of the Marines, right? Goes from literally the weakest recruit to arguably having the highest individual power jump in the series, right? Then, thinking of this, in the time skip, he's classified as the hero of the Rocky Port incident, which was led by Law and his crew. I'm thinking that was when he started stealing the hearts of people, right? So he's clashed with Law, arguably from like the people's perspective. He's sent to capture Boa, and maybe it'll come to light that he was oppressed by Alvida at one point and eventually brings her in. So Kobe's hype now is having fought someone worth 3 billion, right? Trained by Garb, fought someone worth 3 billion, right? Taking on commander level people and taking on warlords. He's just like almost on that Buggy level. He's just getting like gassed up without us even realizing it. You know what I mean?
I swear, if the Marines make like a legend for Kobe and they're like, yeah, if it's like dead set. I'll fume.
Especially
Like,
when
at the mere age of 10, he escaped the ship of no. That's by the help of the king of the pirates, he escaped this commander. Like, if they really layered that on thick for Kobe's like legend around like the marine courtyard and stuff, I will laugh.
no, but think about it as well,
Because
because
what a story that is.
he's
And
also got stories where in front of the Marines, like at Marineford, he fought Luffy. He got his ass kicked, but like he's got he's got the he's got better L's
he
lining
got
up
freed.
than Jack at this point.
Yeah, it's like he got freed from the king of the pirates and then came face to face with him again several years later. Like it's a hilarious story that for us we know that honestly that fight on Avita's ship was anything but glamorous. Luffy was such a rookie,
I love how
but to them it's going to be like this campfire story.
I love how in retrospect, Volume 1 of One Piece involves a fight with two Yonko. Luffy versus Buggy.
That was our first Yonko fight.
The series opens up with a Yonko fight, man. I'm just saying, like, Oda brings it back in glorious ways. But yeah, it's really amazing that they all got this bounty. I really love it. It's interesting that Luffy got a jump. It's very interesting that we didn't get any other bounties yet from the crews or the allies of this conflict. We also didn't get any bounties of the warlords yet. And the reason that's interesting is because the last time we left the Marines, narratively, they were talking about updating the warlord bounties. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
So that's definitely interesting. We cut to this scene, and I'll gloss over this scene, but I thought this was funny, but sort of sad. This guy's meticulously making a meal to say thank you for everyone that was in the war, and only Jinbei shows up because they were just too hungry, so they didn't want to wait around. So they just leave this poor guy. Like, I actually felt so gutted for him, where I was like, dude, imagine as an artist, you know, putting out your work, and like everyone's hyping up how they're going to go to it, and then no one shows up.
It's not
And
even
they're just
that though.
running
It's
around
also
eating
like
street food.
yeah, but it's not even that. Like after a week, also the rations of food aren't necessarily back to normal either. So low key, he's poured until everything gets sorted out after Kaido's reign. Until foods get sorted out, he's probably poured not only just time but like supplies into this, and he's like, I'm gonna give all of this because and then only fucking Jinbei shows up. That's savage.
So then we get probably some of the craziest part. Ooh, I can't even say some of the craziest part, but like we get one of the crazy parts of this chapter where we get the reveal that I've been bloody just like softly burning away at in the back of my mind for ages. That Hitetsu was actually Kozuki Sukiyaki, Odin's father. And so that's a little pat on the back for me that got called. But I'm happy that they finally addressed the damn Kokeshi dolls. Because it was set up at the beginning of the arc that this dude was all about his Kokeshi dolls as a Kokeshi doll collector. And then Brook was like, there's weird Kokeshi dolls down there, it's super sus. And I'm like, it's gotta be his. It's gotta come around full circle. And we get that reveal. And I'm not gonna lie, I kinda think Sukiyaki's a bum. The fact that
okay, I was furious.
the fact that he won't even let Momo and Hiyori know that they've got family, and I'm not saying like he needs to be like, oh, I'm Shogun or anything like that. I just feel like they need a grandpa because they've lost their mum and dad, and although they've got their retainers, it's like knowing you've got at least someone that looks out for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely fair enough.
Especially since Hiyori, poor girl, out
Well,
here
that's what
selling
Tom was
herself
saying.
on the streets under Denjiro's tutorage. Meanwhile, this dude's just taken in some random orphan, which, mind you, it's heavily implied that Otama is a Kurazumi. So she's most likely related to Orochi, considering the graves we saw for her parents a couple of chapters back. The kanji for it's a little blocked out, but most people have been able to like sort of trace over it and make out that it seems like their names are Kurazumis, which makes sense because she's got purple hair just like Orochi does, right?
Right.
Which sort of adds to the tragedy and it gives a little bit of redemption to this guy, where it's like, not just persecuting a family for pure hate, but it's like, dude, you're a bum, go back, admit you're not the best dude in the world, but just give some love to those poor buggers that have just been through hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we get just bedlam, where Robin just says, Tengu-san, it should be somewhere in this country, the ancient weapon Pluton. And essentially, we just find out the Alabaster poneglyph said that the Pluton's in Wano.
Yep. Just like that. It was like just so sudden. I had to reread it like 2 or 3 times. I was like, wait, is this actually
watching this stream live of Supernova's live reaction? I think if he launches a merch line, apart from it's fucking straw, which was his reaction to
Hawkins getting cut up by Killer.
he needs to have a shirt that says what. Because I went and did a counter. I think he says what like 9 times in a row, each progressively getting more high pitch as he went back to try and read what he just saw.
I wanted poneglyph info, and mind you, we didn't get the cruise bounties, and we didn't even read a poneglyph this chapter. You know what I mean? We just got allusion to conversation about more reveals we're gonna get, and it's already just like a 10 out of 10 chapter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But personally, right? And I've got a map of Wano up here, so I don't know if you want to get a map of Wano up. But thematically speaking, them saying that the Pluton's in Wano, I think it'll be somewhere in Hakumai, because in Kuri, we've got Bakura Town, Mount Atayama, and Amigasa Village. In Kibi, we've got the Leftovers Town, and in Udon, we've got the Prisoner Mine. In Ringo, we've got the Cemetery and Mausoleum. And then in the Flower Capital, you've got the Flower Capital of Mount Fuji, right? Hakumai, we saw the port for it, but we have no idea what exists there landmass-wise or city-wise or town-wise. It's the only it's the only blank part of the country so far.
Right.
So I have a pretty good feeling that it's going to be there. But now I sort of have to raise another sort of crazy out there question or idea, right? The Pluton is a battleship that can destroy a country, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very ironic that I'm saying Hakumai is where the ship's buried, but we know it's buried somewhere in this country, right? A country-destroying weapon, and we have the skeleton of a country-sized being.
Right.
I'm just saying that's a little that's a little red hot there, ain't it?
So what do you think is going to happen?
I think maybe later on in the story we'll get some kind of flashback, or maybe it'll be with these poneglyphs, and I think maybe Pluton killed whatever the hell became Onigashima.
Pluton killed it. Okay.
Oh.
Potentially. Okay. Friendly fire or whatever, who knows? But you have
We're going to go with that thing is Pluton.
I mean, maybe, because we know Sunshine Wolf is known as the battleship, but Pluton has blueprints, right? I don't think, unless it's lineage factor, I don't think you can have blueprints to a human or a living being, right? So unless Vegapunk is out here low key on the DL making Pluton by lineage factor sort of manipulation, I think when they mean a battleship, I think they mean an actual ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But it's stated to be able to destroy an island. We have an island-sized being dead on the doorstep. You know what I mean? And we also know that Onigashima in the past has had another name than other than Onigashima. We just don't know what it is. So I'm sort of here and I'm like, I mean, there's enough ducks lined up in a row. Surely someone's going to shoot him down.
But walks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
It's a dragon. It's Clyde, the dragon. The dragon duck. Okay, then we cut to my favourite part of the chapter. Right? The former prisoner mine in Udon. Right?
Yep.
Where last time we saw this place, the entire place was a desert, dead land, with skeletons all over the place. His sheer presence alone has repopulated the fauna of all of Udon and the Udon region, which is crazy. You know what I mean? and we see this at the end of the chapter as well. Everywhere he walks, fauna just spawns, just passively.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool because that way he doesn't actually have to intentionally fix Wano. He'll just kind of unintentionally fix Wano.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
We hit some craziness here where we see the remnants of the Udon prisoner mine, all dead, drained out crocodile style, impaled on wood. And I'd like to point out Babanuki here. Now that the Kibidango wore off, he turned back to a scumbag, which he was a scumbag to begin with. So not all the beast pirates were getting redeemed. And I need to point out, just for this scene here, remember it's been a week since the battle, right? So in the last week, King and Queen recovered, went to Udon prisoner mine, made sort of a makeshift fortress to recuperate until they figure out what to do next, right? To people saying that like, oh, this isn't fair, this is a bad representation, they they were still injured, they've just been, off guarded, right? I really need to point out it's been a full week. They're ancient zones, and we have people that don't have zones that have recovered by the end of this week. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. I don't think they're fully recovered.
See, I think cleanly, based off their fruits being told that they're recovery, the fact that they both look clean here prior to getting oosed, right?
But here's the thing. I wouldn't actually be surprised if an admiral, not even like a specifically really strong admiral, but I wouldn't be surprised if an admiral could do what Green Bull just then did to those two if they were at full health. I still so like I'm willing to believe that. Like
Mhm.
I'm willing to put Green Bull at that tier, if you get what I mean.
Yep.
But I don't actually think that they were
See,
at their max strength because like Queen specifically was like super skinny.
yes, but that's because if you look, Green Bull sucks the life force out of
He's
Queen.
drained. It's a bit like a smoothie.
So one of the
Mass
passive
gone.
abilities of this fruit is he does a mixture of the smoothie crocodile like moisture absorption when he impales you. So you can see like a big glob where he's just sucked out the life force of Queen. So Queen, to me, full health, big fatty, gets sucked out. You know what I mean?
By the way, Green Bull's purpose on the arc on Wano right now
Yep.
is to make the admirals wanked super hard.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna fight Luffy, and it's gonna be like Luffy's hardest fight ever, and he's gonna look almost stronger than Kaido, and the whole time he's gonna be shit talking, being like, "Oh yeah, us admirals could take out Yonko easily," and the whole fan back is gonna just lose their mind.
They're gonna flip, and I'm gonna have been sitting here on my high horse, right? Back on the horse that I have for ages, where they may get wanked here for a bit, but admirals and Yonko are relatively equal, right? And
That's
I need
they're
to.
relatively equal, but Green Bull, because like his personality, he seems kind of like a bit like mafia bossy kind of thing.
Well,
With
the
cigar and
the
stuff.
admirals are all based off yakuzas,
Yeah.
and
So
so
like, I feel like he's literally just going to be while he's fighting Luffy or whoever he fights, he's just going to be smack talking the Yonko, being like, "I can take you guys out easily," but he won't necessarily mean it. He's also not necessarily wrong.
well, okay. This is an interesting thing because there's a few dynamics here. One, this parallels Kaido's introduction
on.
in the Wano arc, right? Where Kaido's introduction was coming down in an intimidating show of range, and then proceeded to one-shot Luffy, a commander level character. Right? Literally, Oda is mirroring that same sort of thing here, and he's almost trying to like, as you said, just show off a little bit and be like, the admirals can do the same thing, but guess what? This time, for the second person, he's gonna do it to two. You know what I mean?
I think actually Sage in the comments has made a good observation, which was even if they weren't at their full potential, with how many soldiers and stuff were just down there anyway, then their power is pretty much the same. Even if you were to say they were nerfed, there was at least enough fodder of any kind down there that there's at least you couldn't say that the handicap was that significant even if they had one.
I need to.
I feel like the temptation to save face Because
Yeah.
So
I think for a lot of people, because it's a recent arc, they like to think that this is a personal opinion. The Peace Pirates are more formidable than they've been appeared. I'll be honest. And I think when you see how easily they got cracked down, particularly Jack, I don't think many people who were riding out on the Beast Pirates are feeling pretty good about this. So I feel like it's quite easy probably to fall into the, well, they must be nerfed or there must be this loophole or that loophole. But I'm a bit the same. I think they're capable. Either way, Green Bull was capable of doing this. He wouldn't have walked, probably as arrogant as he is. He probably wouldn't have walked into a situation like that if he didn't think that was going to be easy. And even the shops
Yeah.
looked like he was handling it with relative ease too.
I also want to point out a few things here because there's a like just in these few panels with Green Bull, there's a lot to unpack and there's lots of levels to unpack here and there's lots of other things you can infer from this, right? So the first thing I've got to point out, right, is if you look at King compared to Queen, it looks like Green Bull was significantly harder for Green Bull to pierce King than it was for Queen, right? But he still pierced him cleanly, right?
Huh?
So that's first thing there. King still has, arguably, even though we can't see his fire, a higher durability than Queen, seemingly, right? Second
Yep.
thing is, all this and everything and everyone that he's defeated here was with one hand. Right? So that's a crazy showcasing. Impressive.
Yeah,
The,
he low diff them easily. That's the thing. He's already an entire jump above Marco.
yeah, because Marco
And that's the thing, like
Marco
Marco
handled
wasn't
these two,
even-
but he was sweating.
Yeah, exactly. And he wasn't even really like he wasn't just butchering them both. He was just holding them off.
Now, the next few things that I've got to break down here, and Daniel, my dude, you may love this, right? Because I know I haven't spoken to you about this chapter yet, right? First thing to notice, his hand is wood, his fingertips are hakied up, right? To pierce those people. So his haki, his base armament haki, is strong enough to pierce King's hide, which was arguably, and I know you've been someone that's corrected me on this in the past, King had higher durability, or a higher invulnerability to penetration than Kaido, right? So I'm not saying whether or not Green Bull would beat Kaido or anything like that, but we know based off just this interaction, he should be able to pierce Kaido. You know what I mean?
Depends if he caught him in the speed form or not, right?
Well, I'm saying if he landed a hit, it's not like he wouldn't be able to bypass Kaido's defense without his ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Help me understand your point, Daniel, because I
Oh,
obviously know supernovas. Are you a more Yonko over Admiral kind of person? Or what's your personal standpoint on that sort of like power scaling?
I'm like a okay. I think they're realistically around about the same. When I imagine the mindset of a Yonko with the possibility going up against an admiral, I think they'll be confident, if only just because they're like more arrogant. Whereas when you have an admiral, they're more like smart and they're like, okay, this is like a serious thing. I gotta like take this careful. But I think at the end of the day, so I think like Yonko would believe that they're stronger than admirals, and admirals would be more cautious. But I think at the end of the day, they're basically the same. Like I don't think Oda is gonna like really make any big distinctions between the two strength wise. I think they're just going to be around about the same strength. And I think like when the fights happen, you know, like for example, with Luffy fighting, if Luffy fights Green Bull right now, most of the fight is going to be just revolving around like, oh, Luffy's got to try to figure out how to get around his plant power and figure out how it works, right? And so it'll have the same kind of relative challenge. But the thing is that when he fights Kaido, it was just like I'm a big boy and I'm going to punch you, and then he's going to swing at me with a hammer, and so it looks like a big strong test of strength. So I think a lot of people might downplay Green Bull's strength because Luffy's main challenge in the fight will just be like getting around the power, but getting around the power is the strength. If you
so
get what I mean, like it's not just raw
Oh,
power.
I'm following. I'm following. Yeah.
so
Okay.
let me raise those thoughts with a few points here that I don't know if you've been made aware of yet. So again, looking at Green Bull's full design, right? I love it. I still can't tell whether or not he's got sunnies on and then doesn't, or whether or not he's just got really deep shaded eyes. Like he's got really sunken in eye sockets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he has a black blade
Where is this? Where are we seeing this?
on his hip
When he's standing over Queen.
underneath. Go down to the next page.
Okay. 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 I'll say could be a black blade. It definitely looks black. Could also be the way it's shaded potentially. So
I would like
I'm
to.
gonna say
I'd like to point out.
it's
Yeah.
definitely stuff.
I'm probably the same as Daniel.
I
It
would-
probably is a black blade, but considering that we can't even tell if
Oh.
those are his eyes or his
Yep, no, no,
sunglasses, the
I-
shading.
I understand that, but again, I'm just going to point this out just for the meantime until we get the next chapter because we've got a month break between this and the next chapter, so there's going to be a lot of combos going on here, right? His sword has no handle, like has no guard, right?
Yeah.
His sword has no sheath, and you can see the temper line on the blade.
Yes.
So to me, this is Oda intentionally drawing him. So he's introduced him with the ability to one-shot two commanders with one hand. He's introduced with a black blade, seemingly, right? And this is going to be the next crazy part. The fact that his hand turns into the wood, I don't know what his fruit is, but that implies to me that he's not a paramecia or a regular paramecia, right?
Yeah, that's what I was
No,
gonna say.
he reeks. He reeks of a category.
So
Like
Yeah.
weird Logia seeming,
So-
but not really a Logia kind of.
I think he will be a
theme.
plant-based zone, but he'll be a special zone that works like a Lugia, and because of the wood, right, if he's damaged, his wood will be able to regrow back together as if it was a Logia's intangible body,
Okay.
right?
See that.
Yeah?
Like regeneration,
Yeah.
plants healing themselves kind of thing.
But the crazy thing about that is going to be it may actually surpass a Logia's intangibility for like a basic Logia because it's a zone. It may just be like an advanced healing factor like Margot.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Like okay, just this is wild, but if he's a plant, is it like sunlight like heals him or something? You're saying he'll have a healing factor.
I'm just saying, like, if you cut a branch off a tree partially, the tree will regrow that section.
Wouldn't it be wild though if it was like he did a photosynthesis? Oh my goodness,
Well,
that word just then.
I think
Clearly, and then that's why they've paired him with Kizaru. Could you imagine then on the battlefield if he's getting injured and then Kizaru's like
Ooh.
light,
We're
and
gonna
then they feed off each other.
Sage in the chat is betting the forest no me, right?
As far as no me.
I
Classic.
will counter that and say it's the flora no me, and it could even be something crazy like model Adam tree. Because
Like from the Garden of Eden or something.
well, you know how there's the Adam tree and Adam wood in One Piece, which is near indestructible.
Yep.
Imagine if he's
Yeah,
the
right.
paramecia version of that. Sorry, the zone version of that.
Okay, I'm going with two then. I got two guesses. The Eden no me, I'm kind of stealing your thing. He's like essentially like the whole Garden of Eden. Not even
Yeah,
Nice.
that's what I thought. Obviously, being a Christian, I was like,
concept of it.
like the paradise, the perfect man kind of thing, you know?
Other one that I'm going for, and I feel like it's a little bit of a long shot, but it could be cool, is the God of the Jungle. We saw
Ooh.
in like
Ooh.
in
God of the Forest in Skypiea.
Skypiea?
Yep.
Yeah, God of the Forest, yeah. Because Nika, the God of the Sun, was one of the names that was written there, and there was three other gods.
So there was the god of the sea, god of water, and then the god of earth, right? Now the interesting thing about that is if that's the case, right? I'd like to point out, you know how Luffy and Sengoku being the only other known god fruits, right? Something I'll bring in is his absorption powers here, working like crocodile and smoothie, right?
Yeah.
One, that could be how he hasn't eaten in 3 years. He may have just absorbed the nutrients from other people that he's fought, so he doesn't need to eat anymore. And two, the higher extent of his fruit may be something more along the lines of what we see at like the end of Naruto, where he can suck up the life force of stuff around him to empower himself up, almost like what Big Mum does with her souls.
Right.
because being tree based there's a lot of possibilities here. And now that we see even just a fraction of how it works, the crazy thing is, right? Again, going back to the top panel here, right, where we first see him, the whole area is turned to forest, but you actually see a massive tree that's overgrown the prison. That almost seems like he's used that and grown that to actually gain entrance into the prison.
Like he used it to shatter down the walls or
Well,
something.
instead of shattering down the walls, he's just walked up to the edge. It's obviously all sealed off, right? He's just grown the tree under him. It's lifted him up. He's just gotten in, and then you can see the roots of that tree have just penetrated in everywhere, killing everyone.
Okay, that's
right.
honestly that sounds like a horror show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, low
Could you
key.
imagine you're just sitting in there, right, and you're stressing, and you're with your mates, and you're like, man, I didn't fucking think Kaido was gonna go down.
I
That was
broke a
crazy.
cold sweat for a second, going
and then you-
Dovi.
And then you're just like, can anybody hear that? And then there's you get your mates are getting strung up and bleeding out. Like that's honestly, One Piece tends to
Mm-hmm.
like the manga's obviously more violent and shows more violence than the anime. But I'll be real with you, I reckon this was probably the most ruthless panel One Piece has.
One of
Because it was
easily.
just
Was
because
pretty
with the
brutal, yeah.
background being so lush and growing back in life, and then in the foreground just death and people
Yeah.
bleeding out.
I
It was
love the
just
duality of it because it means from a standpoint of like the people, whenever Green Bull fights, he won't leave as much just raw
he will
destruction.
leave somewhere better than where he entered it. And
Mm.
I also feel like there's such a it was almost very berserk-esque for everybody that knows.
Well,
Um
something that I really needed to point out here is oh god, I've just had a mind blank. What was it? I've just had a complete brain hiccup.
while you think about it,
Yeah.
Sage again has had an awesome comment, which is we've now got two people who can read the poneglyphs. The poneglyphs. Far out.
Yes, we do. We have Sukiyaki and Robin, and this leads to potential because, and I'll link, but because I just remembered what I was going to say, this kind of links back into it, right?
Oh, good.
So, okay, starting off,
Thank you, Sage.
we've got Green Bull here, and if you actually look at Queen, Green Bull's wrapped his vines around Queen's arm, and he's just sucked all the moisture out of Queen's arm, like what Croc did to Luffy, and his arm's just essentially just nubbed out.
Nubbed out. Oh, what an adjective.
No, but can you see that?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it right now. That's the only actual adjective you could probably use.
And maybe that's just the arm that Sanji broke off, right? But it looks like the tendrils of the vines are wrapped around it, and even his other arm looks like it's wrapped up as well and is getting drained at the same time.
So we're all confident and on the same page that these people are dead. Yeah, there is no.
Yeah.
King and Queen could come back. We're all on the same page that these guys are dead.
I
right?
will actually say, looking at it, everyone but King is dead, and King may just play dead for a minute.
He's the kind that would hide under his mates' bodies. He would pull a law.
Because if
But
you
tell you what, yeah, if Oda wanted to bring King back as like I'm going to tell you all about Joy Boy because that's been my big interest.
Yeah.
Then that is definitely possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Especially
there's not much else for any of the beast parts now that Kaido's dead. There's not really any reason.
especially since Queen is, you can see that like the life was being drained from it, whereas we don't get to see the same end result for King. We see the initiation,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
my only question is, because obviously that's the thing he could do, but do you think Green Bull, based on the snippet of the personality we've got, do you think that Green Bull wouldn't be thorough, considering he's seeking that attaboy from Kaido?
I think
Hakainu.
I think the thoroughness is like if he's let one person out of 100 people go already after he thought he killed them after one-shotting them, I can let that slide. That's not a loss. That's an easy dub. You know what I mean? But
I'm more saying, would you think that if one got away, that says something about his arrogance as a personality flaw, or do you think that says something about his strength? I think that's more about his personality.
I think it's more about his strength. Where, I mean, at this point in time, Oda's just going out of his way to showcase his strength here. You know what I mean? He's really. It's gotten to the point where he's like, I haven't used the admirals in the story for conflict. We're at the point where the admirals are now going to start being main antagonists in some capacity, right? I I have to clearly make people aware where they stand, and it is on the platform with the Yonko. You know what I mean?
Okay, then I have a question for you guys. Do you think Green Bull is going to go down on Wano?
Uh,
He's going to have a fight that's
okay.
hard and then get beaten.
This leads into my question, which is in relation to Sage's question about the two people that read poneglyphs, right? He's here to take out Luffy, right? Green Bull's here to take out Luffy, but Green Bull might not be the person that was meeting up with the fleet outside of Wano that he gets in contact with here, right?
Right.
So looking at the dialogue here, you've got the click, hello, this is, yeah, I'm in Wano, bring over a warship. Huh? Oh, Green Bull. Right? Don't tell Sakazuki-san what I'm up to. See ya. Who's he talking to here? Is he talking to just the CP0 guy? Or is he talking to
Probably.
Fujitora?
I think he's speaking to Fuji because they're, funnily enough, they're fellow admirals, but not only that, Fujitora's the only one that could potentially have a connection to Wano
And has a
for
connection to
obvious
Green Bull.
reasons.
Really, I always just assumed it was just some random like marine captain, but yeah, it could be. That would be interesting.
And so the thing that makes this more interesting is because reading this off last chapter, like rereading a bit of last chapter, right? We had someone showing up with the world government ships just outside. Then it skips to a week later, and then Green Bull's coming in on his own. You know what I mean? And I said,
Yeah.
was that Green Bull or was that someone else? There's obviously a time skip here of a week. We don't get a clear indication of what, when, why, right? The fact that he's saying, don't tell Sakazuki-san what I'm up to here, and Green Bull's going after Luffy, but we know the orders are to take out Robin. Is he going to have to bail on Luffy to capture Robin? Or is Green Bull gonna, is Fuji's gonna show up, or some other force gonna show up world government-wise, right? Go after Robin like the CP0, which leads into Sage's question about there being two poneglyph readers now, where is Robin going to get kidnapped? We're going to have to learn information from the poneglyph without Robin that maybe leads into Pluton, then chase after Robin.
I'll be honest, I'll spit chips if that's what happens, because I feel like the damsel in distress crew member has been overplayed, and B, if they sincerely put my girl Robin back in the exact same situation as Annie's lobby, I'm gonna be a bit like, really?
This does
Come
lean back
on.
into a potential misunderstanding of a comment made by Oda's editor like a year ago, right? Where he said, things are really heating up with Kaido. After this, will be the main conflict with Wano's big bad villain will begin. And a lot of people took that as someone else is coming that's worse than Kaido, or other people took it as Kaido, you know what I mean? At this point in time, we haven't had the, like, Act 3 end. Who bloody knows? You know what I mean? Because with Green Bull showing up, it's either going to be the Straw Hats are chased, like, the pirates are chased off really quickly, or stuff's about to go down here. And maybe Green Bull's seeking that attaboy puts himself in a hard position, but I doubt Oda would introduce him just to take him down immediately.
Yeah, there's no way he's dying here, because it would be extremely poor writing to introduce a character, especially one that you've foreshadowed for ages just to kill off.
Could he take out a kid or a law? Or at least mangle them up pretty badly.
I think so. I think that's a high possibility. Or the more unlikely is, I would laugh if Green Bull does fuck up Luffy. And then I think it's been hinted, and a lot of people may disagree with me. And honestly, it may not even occur here. I'm just spitballing ideas at this point. But I feel like it's been hinted that Law will use his fruit for Luffy, in that regard of the power that Dofi really sought from it, and that savior. And I almost wonder if Law gives that to Luffy and dies on Wano. Because one of them would die. I don't think it will be Luffy, but maybe it's too much to have Luffy die twice in the same country. But I think it would make a lot of poetic sense for Law to go down, especially having resisted being friends with Luffy for so long, and now at the end of their agreement, it's done. Kaido's gone.
There's no holding on to
He-
Kaido at this point.
and there's no holding on to Law because the agreement between Luffy and Law is finished. That contract is terminated. Dofi's gone, Kaido's gone. They have fulfilled their bargain to each other. So Law as a character has reached the end of his arc, and I think that the most bittersweet irony thing that could happen here is if Law's finally free of Luffy, and the irony being that he gives his life to save Luffy here. I think that would be pretty cool. Not that I want it to happen because I love Law and I know Supernova would absolutely fucking sob.
I feel like that would have to wait until the Sacred Treasure of Merijoa, plotline wise. But that's just me. Maybe I've got my own headcanon and maybe I'm over expecting things.
Maybe, but that's just a shot for me because of everybody to go down, Law's reached the end of his character arc. I think Kid still plays his, which is the failed attempt at the King of the Pirates, but the contract between Luffy and Law has officially terminated. So there's no more for Law's character anymore.
Now,
So yeah,
this might come out of Redfield, right? But this is going to just be like a dumb question that obviously we will have to wait and see, right? But I just want to throw the thought out there because if it happens, I'm going to be super giddy, right? You know how Katakuri was able to just spawn fists out of any part of his body? Can you imagine Green Bull doing that? Now imagine Green Bull in like a fight with someone. He's, both hands are flailing around, whether he's doing his like claw fingers or just like, extending his arm, just coming out like a big, like a giant tree's punching you sort of thing. And then a hand just comes out of his chest, grabs his sword, so he's fighting you with 3 hands, and then you've just got a random black blade just swinging at you.
oof.
Like, just based on how he's able to extend himself here, if he's able to produce more limbs of himself with his fruit, I'm sitting back here and I'm looking at him and I'm like, shit, Oda waited to get rid of all the fire users in the series to bring out this dude,
Introducing the dude with wood. That's
and then just made him OP without fire users. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like, dude, Big Mum, her big thing is fire. Kaido, one of his main attacks is fire. As soon as they go down, Ace, we know that Sabo, right, lost to Green Bull and Fuji. So the other big fire user's done. The only other person that really, his whole ability's heat, right, is Akainu. And Akainu's his boss. And that's kind of funny where it's like, I need that attaboy, man. Don't burn me.
Actually, on that note, while you've just reminded me, can we talk about Sabo on the paper, the newspaper? Because you caught it so quick when you were doing your stream.
Yes.
Like you said it like narrowed in on it. So much so that I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's common sense. It's there, but it really wasn't. It was just like a little Easter egg. But
So,
are we saying that Sabo's okay, or do we think Sabo's in trouble?
Eggs for Reki, this is on the page where the bounties are revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So see how we see this little statue on the side with Sabo? I asked whether or not this is an island that was saved by Sabo, and so they're celebrating him, or whether or not this is an island that was affected negatively by the revolutionaries and are celebrating the news that something negative has happened to Sabo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One other thing I need to point out, right? And I said this on TikTok earlier today. See the Sabo panel?
Huh?
On the newspaper down the bottom right, if you zoom in really, really far, it almost looks like Doflamingo's there.
I completely disagreed with this. Okay, and Supernova knows this. I feel like if there was fishing, I will get on my hands and knees. I will get on my hands and knees, and I will say I'm wrong. I will on stream if he's right. I will.
I'm not saying definitively, but Oda's big thing is in newspapers, he slips in really like blurred images of important stuff that's happening outside the world, and he does it all the time.
What are you saying it looks like?
Doflamingo. His a little bit of his face and his sunnies. It looks like his profile. His face.
Why can't I zoom into this bit? Every time
I can send a photo in the Discord. That way, anyone that's talking can have a look at this. Okay. That'll just make things a whole lot easier, I think, don't you?
Sounds good to me.
But the thing is with this, though, right? Is if it is Doflamingo, I just had the mindset because I saw people bringing up going, oh, okay, this may be in relation to Laura and Luffy becoming, high bountied individuals, right?
Huh?
I looked at it and I was like, crap, the last time we saw Doflamingo, he was talking about assassins coming to execute him.
You think that looks like a Akainu?
No, Doflamingo.
Doflamingo?
Yeah,
What about it? What am I looking for?
the sunnies.
He thinks
It's
that
his
the
smile, it's
he
his
thinks
sunnies,
this
and it's a little bit of
sunnies.
his blonde hair.
Oh, please don't feel this. Please don't say you see
It looks
it.
like a goblin.
Hey,
Normally I'm with you,
I,
but
I'm not denying that it's a reach, right? But I'm saying Oda has done that consecutively on all the
absolutely.
newspapers that we've seen. We've seen Crocodile, we've seen Kuma. Like we always get little snippets of updated info on these things. That's the only clear shot of a newspaper we see this entire chapter, and it's funny that it does sort of look like Doflamingo. And all I
Definitely
was,
see something like Sunny's. It's just the face shape is very different.
oh, I don't disagree with that at all. I do not disagree with that, but that's the thing. The identifying feature really is the sunnies to me.
Yeah, and it could have just been like intentionally
Blue.
looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is, if that is Doflamingo, I'm sort of in a frame of mind where I'm going, well, what would be the context of him being in the newspaper? Is it because the warlords have got updated bounties? Is it because he's the only warlord that's been captured? Or is it because he's been killed in prison? So that's something to just put at the back of your mind. We'll wait and find out. But if something comes of that, that would actually be pretty like, damn, that will.
Oh, again,
The evidence was
listen,
there.
if that's true, I will get on my hands and knees on stream and apologize to your glory. I will. I'll be like, you called it.
I'll take that. It's my birthday tomorrow, and my cousin got me this as well. I don't know if you can see. It's a straw hat, right? So I'll have the hat on and everything while you bow down to me.
I will.
I'll claim that.
I will.
But yeah, pretty little bit of information that like may not become anything significant, but it's there, and if it is gonna come around and be significant, that's one of those things where you're gonna look back on and go shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. If my boy's been nerfed in prison, I'm gonna be so sad.
Level 6, impel down, no help, sending CP0 to go end him. I'm just saying. Higher likelihood.
It is, and for anyone else that doesn't know, I love Dopey with an absolute passion. So his death would just gutter me.
But
Like he's one of those characters in the series. If he died, I'd be like, oh.
that would be the ironic thing, though, where they're like, crap, silence Doflamingo so he doesn't spill any information about the national treasure at Merijoa or any like national secrets and that. Only for Luffy to take down Kaido and Big Mom and essentially re-find them out anyway by eventually getting to Laugh Tale and finding out what the One Piece is. You know what I mean?
Oh, that honestly would make me giggle.
It really would be the Gorosei's classic too little too late. You know what I mean? But then we cut to the celebrations, which is good. We get this scene where Kid is now trying to kill Luffy because they've got the same bounty, and Luffy's been regarded as an emperor. I gotta ask, do you think Kid's gonna follow through trying to hurt Luffy next chapter?
Absolutely not. The fact that he lunged himself at Luffy and Luffy, like later on, is just like Jaggy and like gives him a freaking hug and gets him in a headlock as he lunges at him. I'm just like, bro. Like Luffy was so ecstatic to see him. It was like seeing your mate at a sleepover. He was like a kid. He was like, "Yeah, let's party. You're here. You're here too. Let's go." And like Luffy completely forgot their opposition. He was just ecstatic, but Kid was there for blood, and he just got manhandled. I don't think that's happening.
I'm not saying it's the best, but I think weirdly enough, this is actually my favorite panel of Wano, where we see the cheers and we see the fireworks, and Luffy and Kid are
Yeah,
like
same.
holding each other, hands up in the air, and everyone's celebrating and drinking, and there's just prosperity back in the land. I genuinely love. Like when I saw this, I was like, shit. Like all the parts of me that was like, man, there's leftover plot points that I really want to get addressed, and it's like I feel like it's unresolved. I saw this panel and I just like got warm. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I just
right.
like I just drank a big stein of beer or something like that. I was just like, this is happy, you know, which is good. It takes a lot to sort of get that sort of feeling out of reading something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Then we get more absolute madness where we get we get the new four Yonko. Um, so I guess all those times I was joking about volume 25 being the first volume to show all four Yonko is true. Because we've got Red Hair Shanks, Straw Hat Luffy, Blackbeard, Marshall D. Teach, and the bombastic clown Buggy. And it is so freaking amazing that finally the meme of saying Buggy's going to become Emperor level has finally come around. You know what I mean?
Such a good meme.
Like,
I love Buggy. The thing is, Buggy is like Usopp done right because
yeah,
he's not one of the main
Yes,
crew.
no,
yeah.
So him being
that is
completely useless
hundred
doesn't matter.
percent
It's
correct.
used sparingly and it's used to great effect,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? Whereas Usopp, it's like, yeah, okay, we get it, but sometimes can you just do something? But the worst part is that we act like Buggy's not competent sometimes as well, but it's like low key. It's like he's got some skills and abilities to him. That's just like he's a really specifically like he's in a niche. He's OP. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely.
But
Well, the thing
overall,
is,
he's useless.
the thing about it is, isn't the person that got sent after Buggy a swordsman?
Yeah,
And I'm
stainless.
I'm sitting there like, what is he? What the hell is he gonna do? Like, who's in charge of that payroll? Like,
So
who went? Okay, I'm gonna divvy this out. We're
we
gonna
don't
send him here.
we don't know if anyone else was with stainless, right? But you got to think,
That's
Buggy's
not even the
bounty.
point.
Buggy's bounty was only 15 mil prior to being a warlord, right? What's his bounty gonna be now?
I honestly, if I was on the sea, right, I'm heading there, I'm doing my job, I'm a marine, and then I find out my target's now a Yonko. On top of the fact that I'm a swordsman, and I would, and a chop fruit, I'd hand in my resignation. I'd be like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm gonna take my redundancy package or whatever it is and just leave because it's like that poor CP0 dude being asked
To
to
go
go
back and
back
get
to
Robin?
Wano.
Oh,
Yeah, at what stage do you go? I'm gonna have to resign. I don't like the job enough, and my mates are dead, and it's not. I just feel sorry for whoever's going up against Buggy now. To be honest,
well, I'm sort of here, and I'm like thinking about this logistically, right? Luffy's got 3 bill now, yeah. So that raises two questions. For Luffy to be an emperor and Kid and Law not to be, correct? Does that mean Blackbeard has had a bounty increase past his 2.2 bill? And does that mean Buggy has a bounty higher than 3 bill? And I'm not saying that to downcredit Luffy. I'm saying that as a reason why potentially Kid and Law aren't getting considered for these positions, or they're not expanding the amount of emperors. You know what I mean?
The thing is, as well, is Buggy's main strength comes from.
People.
I mean, I'm sure like the world government thinks that he individually is strong, and because he's been hyped up like stupidly, but his main strength comes from like his massive crew. He has like a literal entire company organization
Mm-hmm.
working for him. He may actually have the biggest fleet right now
Yep.
because Shanks doesn't keep a very large fleet. He keeps like a fairly normal size, and Teach seems like he's got a pretty big one, but we don't really know. It's possible that Buggy has like a massive organization. Like,
Potentially.
yeah,
Potentially.
could be real good.
I actually was wondering, right? Because Stainless is the one that was sent after him. Stainless is a vice admiral, observation, and Haki the works, and there were at least 5 or 7 ships sent after Bucky, right?
Uh-huh.
Low key, him and his crew could probably defeat that. I know they were like it was looking like Buggy was gonna run, so let's just assume Buggy started to bail, and his crew fought. I feel like his crew could have beat that, right? And like you know me, I stand the vice admirals, and I go people downrate them way too much. You know what I mean? But like you know the Buggy ball in the Muggy ball, how it can blow up like you know a block of a town in a single shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine shooting like 2 or 3 of them at Stainless, and Stainless is just like cannonballs, pathetic. Jumps up, goes to cut them, right? And all of a sudden just gets done in by a series of really bad explosions.
That's the thing. He could have literally just sailed away, just launched cannons fire with his explosive cannonball shells at them,
Yep.
range. It would devastate the entire fleet, like because
Yep.
you can't cut it,
And
like you were saying.
and that's the big thing where it's like you've either got to dodge it, deflect it, or you're screwed. And it's not something that's commonly known until you go up against just him.
Yeah.
Right? Not to mention you're a swordsman, he's immune to swordsmanship. If you've got strong brawlers to try and deal with Buggy, they're immune, like they can't defeat Alvida because they can't strike Alvida. He's got a crew that's really specifically set up to deal with specific people and types of people.
Mhm.
And let's not forget, like, we crap on Mr. 3 a lot, right? His wax is harder than iron, and he can make you inhale the wax and turn to like solid wax.
Huh?
Like across like a big battlefield, if he made his big candelabra and just stayed back and let the fodder run in, if like the Marines didn't push hard, eventually they would just be done in by that wax, and like arguably Mr. 3 could just undo it for the Allies.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, like I look at this and I'm like, what did Buggy do to become an emperor? But at the same time, I'm like, could Buggy's crew have made Buggy win that fight, and Buggy just get the credit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I need to point out that Buggy and Teach shop at the same damn bandana store. We keep seeing that bandana showing up on different like top tier pirates, right? Big Mum also had the same identical one. I'm sitting here and I'm like, where do they get it from?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, what do you think Buggy's bounty's gonna be?
Go 3.3.
3.3? That's cool. That's respectable.
Yeah, that actually seems pretty standard.
Sham Love just asked how I would rate Kid's character. Okay. I will do 2 separate ones. His character and his strength. In terms of character, I love his character. He's a really fun guy. I like the aggressiveness of him, right? Because I think it's done well, and I think it really the way he does his like the way he goes about his thing, it really works for him. And I love how like where Luffy is the like chaotic goofy, Law is like the chaotic neutral, and Kid's the chaotic evil. You know what I mean? And I really like how Kid, no matter the situation, like he's the definition of banging your head against a wall and you just don't stop. And I love it because like I love the grit of it. You know what I mean? It's like an Aussie underdog story. I'm here for it. In terms of combatability, how would I rate Kid? Shit, he's in the first commander range. Like I don't. I can see specific matchups against first commanders beating him, right? But at the same point in time, I see him literally defeating any second and third commander. No problem. And that's without us having even seen his haki. You know what I mean? Like, you know how people are always like, why doesn't Law just run people over water and drown them? Right? Why doesn't Kid just like use his awakening, magnetize someone to something, throw it at the water? Like, you know how he can make his fist and he can control like the fist magnet? Just shoot a fist towards the water and then go assign, and just shoot people into the water.
Yeah, that'd do it.
I know that's a bit of like that's a bit hacks, right? But it's like, I'm sitting here and like, in terms of combatability, he was a huge letdown in the Haki department to me, but he was a huge W in surpassing my expectations with certain aspects of his fruit, right? I never got to see a blade tornado or a metal tornado, but that was just something I wanted, you know what I mean? Other than that, his lasers, his ability to control people and assign magnetic forces to them, he was a bit of a banger, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Like, I just think that's the thing, is that there are a lot of people this arc should be good. They just didn't get a showing.
Yep. Yep.
And like pretty much all of the Beast Pirates are like, I mean, you guys are a Yonko crew, right? You've got to be Yonko crew worthy. Just didn't seem that way though.
Just fundamentally, as a crew at this point in time, Big Mom's crew seems stronger. Kaido's fodder seems better. And what I mean by that is like the general gifters would probably beat the chess soldiers. You know what I mean? They seemed like Zoro was getting tired fighting them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like Big Mom's named children with named abilities, I'm like, dude, they are jacking up the Beast Pirates seemingly.
Yeah,
you know what
because
I mean?
that's the thing though, is like when I think about Big Mom's fodder, I kind of think about like the Enraged Army.
Yeah.
The Enraged Army are like Haki users, man. Like, I could see them taking out some of the gifters. I think though, I think the headliners seem really goofy, but I think the headliners might actually be like
Cool,
potentially
strong.
semi-strong,
Yeah.
and the headliners will be mixed in with the gifters.
Yeah.
So it would be like Enraged Army is like, some of them are fodder, some of them have Haki, and those ones with Haki would essentially be the equivalents of
See,
the headliners.
The problem I have with that though is like, dude, that's not touching Opera and his quadruplets that all have armament haki and observation haki, right?
Yeah.
They're not touching Mont d'Or, trapping you in an isekai. Like,
Yeah.
Mont d'Or just gets on the battlefield, floods his hand, and all of a sudden, your body is like here and present, but your like consciousness is in this isekai, you know what I mean? And you just get dropped.
Yeah.
Like immediately, like on a large scale, that does super damaging stuff. Even Pudding doing her mass like mind manipulation stuff with memories, taking you back to thinking you're in a different point in your life, would greatly affect your fighting capability for fodder.
Yeah, true.
Like Big Mum's crew is like built to handle the fodder. And like, because she was the first Yonko, her crew got gassed. But the problem is, because they got gassed, they just have the feats at this point in time. And other people that won't come back and get like better showcasing, all they have is like their current betrayal and whatever they used to have to hype them up. You know what I mean?
True.
But yeah, what role will Kid have in the future? We know he's not getting Pirate King. Kid's role in the future really is, I think it sort of ends with this, for lack of a better solution. I think his relevance will just be, showing up from time to time in stories for some cool moments. But really, his story was to be a rival to Luffy to the Yonko. Right? Once we've hit that Yonko status, and even though they've got equal bounties, Luffy beat him in the race to Yonko status with the fleet. Luffy now is no longer in a race with... Luffy is no longer in a race with the Supernova, he's now in a race with the Yonko. And once he wins the race against the Yonko, he will be the winner. He will be the pirate, right? So Kid's relevance will be, what can he amalgamate and what can he attain between here and the end of the series, so that after end of series, right, he'll be the Whitebeard to the Roger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Like, and I'm not saying that there has to be that same parallel. It's just, to me, the Supernova we introduced for two things. Luffy to have a rival to be an emperor, and Zoro to have rivals, right? because Zoro was being portrayed equal to a captain, but Zoro was like right at the bottom end of the Supernova. And if you notice, Zoro has fought and clashed with a lot of the Supernova, going through them all, to the point where he's now developed Conqueror's Haki, you know what I mean? Zoro's distinguishing himself by being a peer to people who should be Luffy's peers. Meanwhile, Luffy's ascending past that. His only real rival was ever Kid, right? And as much as I love Law was more of a forced rival in this aspect, because Law never had the reputation that Luffy did, right? Even with Doflamingo, right? Everyone came out of that arc just going, well, you know, Law has some hacks and that, but they're really just sort of like, it was really a attaboy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, to me, it's that natural progression, just building up. That's what makes this part so fun and emotional for me. The fact that Kid's here, doing this craziness, having these fun moments now, because maybe he'll show up in the final war and show up for a few other key important moments throughout the series, which I want. Like, I love the character. I want to see him get those advanced Hakis and stuff like that, right? But I feel like what his role will be is when Luffy is the Pirate King, he'll be the pirate that challenges the Pirate King. You know what I mean? They'll be the people that have their crews clash out at sea.
I
and
really
stuff like
like
that.
what Sage has just said in the comments, which is like a Roger Shiki relationship.
Yeah.
I really like that. That's exactly what I can see.
I think Kid's just a bit going to be more successful than Shiki, and that's saying a lot, man. Like, I was rewatching
Yeah, no, I agree.
Strong World the other day, and I'm like, holy hell, this dude is just so disgustingly busted. Like, every now and then you got to go back and reread or rewatch the One Piece movies, because it's just like, bro, One Piece is so long, unless you're like constantly analyzing stuff, you will forget a scene that is just like, dude, this just has so much BS OP potential. You know what I mean? Law don't want to achieve anything just like Whitebeard, but Kid had ambition just like Shiki. Yeah, I definitely see that. Which is actually part of an interesting thing, which is why right here, where Kid's scrapping with Luffy, saying like, I'm coming for you, it's because Luffy enjoys reputation, but he doesn't care about his reputation. Kid cares about his reputation. Like, Kid goes out of his way to clear things up, like Caribou saying he lost his arm to Big Mom. You know what I mean? Speaking of, where is Caribou?
Actually, that's a good point.
Because,
True, actually.
do you know what is terrifying?
What?
We're talking about Pluton being here. Caribou knows where Shirahoshi is and that she is Poseidon. There is a potential land grab for count them, two of the ancient weapons here and now. Right? And I don't know about you guys, right? But like I said before, Green Bull's either going to show up and scare them off, show up, clash for a bit and do something, or he's gonna get Robin and leave, right? But like, there is a potential here, as crazy as it would be, for Act 3 to end, Act 4 to open up, and we're now dealing with the Marines on Wano over the ancient weapons.
That would actually be pretty intense, I'm not gonna lie.
Especially after everyone's just had a week to heal up, so there's no excuse of we're too tired and injured.
I think it'd be better even if they were still slightly injured, because there's that real sense of panic.
Fear?
There's
Yeah.
that real sense of stake, because you're like, crap.
Especially after we got some confirmed deaths, it would be like, oh, people are dying. Crap. We need to actually really pay attention to who goes down and who gets up.
It also, for me as well, I think it's also a matter of, it might actually be a moment where they have to bail, and that might lead into the next arc, because if they are slightly injured, they may not be able to risk a clash.
Well, this
so soon.
This is the thing here. Looking at every single character here at the Flower Capital, everyone is fully healed. You know what I mean? Everyone
Could be
is.
the citizens of Wano also help Luffy to leave.
Yes, it's hard because the comments were, as of 1054, the story is going to be starting the final saga, right? Like, it's going to be working towards the final saga.
Yeah.
Does that mean 1054 Wano ends, or does that mean 1054, for all we know, Act 3 ends, and Wano was the first arc in the end saga? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, there's a lot of ways to take this out. Also, I need to point out, Luffy, while in base now, still does the Gear 5 eyes. The awakening stays. The potential stays.
Oh.
Even though it's a
Where's
gag, it's
that?
part of the power. Bottom right panel of the last page.
Okay. Mm.
So, even in base form now,
Oh,
Luffy
right.
may have a hell of a lot more freedom over his abilities.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that when they say awakened form, I mean, he just straight up has freedom, I guess.
Alright. An interesting thing, I
I
think...
don't think it's required of him to kind of go like change forms to sort of access that freedom.
Also, I love how Green Bull is just turning the whole area leading up to the flower capital back into a luscious green forest. Because I think one of the things that's going to happen is when this arc ends, one of the last few panels, because I think Oda's mentioned a few times, not just about the last panel of the series, but about the last panel of Wano. He's been really looking forward to drawing it. I think it's going to mirror the opening of the Odin flashback, where we go through Wano about how much of a lush, beautiful, forested area it is and how lovely it is. So I think Green Bull being here, like, one of the last panels we're going to see of the arc is really going to just be Wano's back to prosperity under Momo. Alright, Shamlove. It's interesting. I think Law is more of a white beard figure to Luffy than Kid is. Don't think he has much to do in the story. Could Kid become a sacrificial pawn to, say, Luffy endgame? Really don't see Kid ever sacrificing himself for Luffy. I really see Kid as being... How do I describe this? Kid will be like an annoying little brother. You know what I mean? Never quite as... Like, the Kid's never going to be quite as successful as Luffy. He's definitely going to make a name for himself, and he's always going to be gunning for Luffy to get, like, that top spot, because he doesn't want to be second fiddle. But he's never going to be successful on it, but he's never going to drop off from his perch there, I think. If that makes sense.
I see it.
Like, he's always going to be the number 2 Supernova. All to Law's dismay. You know what I mean?
You say number 2, but are you saying then that Kid will be stacked above Zoro?
Okay, look, that's maybe.
Yeah, so
That's
you
a
gotta
maybe.
be careful what you say.
Like I said, it's
There's-
it's a red hot maybe, because end of series, right? Like, it's hard, man. It is so hard. It'll depend on what happens here with Green Bull with the Black Blade, I guess, as well. Like, if that is a Black Blade, and that's just one aspect of his repertoire, and not his main fighting style, right? Maybe what it means to be the world's greatest swordsman will sort of decrease a bit in value, you know what I mean? Because, like, the introduction of Mihawk and Zoro saying, like, I'm going to be the world's greatest swordsman, and that was like Luffy saying, good, the Pirate King wouldn't have anything less than the world's greatest swordsman as a subordinate on his crew. You know what I mean? And Mihawk's like, Pirate King, that's an even greater dream than defeating me. And we talk thematically about that meaning gathering people and all this stuff and doing all these, trials and tribulations. But it's like, it's either going to get to a point where Mihawk's stronger than people think, or Mihawk's weaker than people think. And Zoro will be over Mihawk end of series, but not by much, if that makes sense. So, is Zoro going to be over Kid and Law? Probably. I think it'll be a good enough. I think it'll be good enough of a question that there'll be conversation about it. But I don't think it's going to be super clear, if that makes sense. Whereas Luffy will be pretty clear of everyone, right? Like, I've actually questioned this, right? You know the the swordsman slashes and stuff like that. Could Luffy in Gear 5 grab them and throw them back at a swordsman? Because Mihawk doing like the world's strongest like gatling of blades, Luffy just making a big hand, turning the projectile slashes to rubber, and then just throwing them back would be pretty devastating, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. See, Sage, the thing about that comment about Law having to die at the end of the series because of the eternal life, because you were gone at the time, I actually said that potentially in this next bit of Wano, that Law will die because, as I was saying before, Kaido, but the beating of Kaido and Dofi has concluded. That's the only reason that Law and Luffy came together in the first place. That's finished. So his character arc is finished. So it would make more sense for Law, if one of them, Law than Kid, to sacrifice themselves here because, I mean, Law's narratively finished.
I feel like Law still has narrative relevance in Law or Doflamingo need to be maintained for narrative significance whenever we make it to Merujoa, if ever we make it to Merujoa.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, that's the only loose plot point that involves either one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Kid doesn't have that same plot point, but Kid has the status, like he's been built up and has had the status to be an ongoing rival, even if it's not an ongoing rival that we actually have to worry about. You know what I mean?
Yep. I'm just saying that if it was to be one of them, I feel like it would be Law because Kid would never sacrifice himself for Luffy. Um, I feel like it's been the eternal life hint has been given again and again in relevancy to Law and Law's ability. That's why Dofi wanted it in the first place. And if Kaido's defeated and Dofi has been defeated, quote unquote, then the connection between Luffy and Law technically can sever. So out of the two of them, for me, if there was to be one out of the two, it would be Law over Kid to me. Just in response to that. To Sage's comment.
One thing I'll say now, for Shanks fans, live it while you can, because Shanks is currently the highest bounty to Yonko.
Shanks is sitting there like, this is why I mind my own damn business. Because Big Mum left Whole Cake to go chase after Luffy, to go to Wano, and Shanks is sitting there going, see, this is why you mind your own business. This is why you keep your crew close, small.
I mean,
You don't start beef unless you have to. You just mind your own damn business.
you want beef?
Because he's the only still remaining Yonko from the original 4.
You want beef? Look at the part where it's all for Yonko, right?
Mm.
Do you know what the beef is?
What?
Kaido and Big Mum went down. Kaido was about to hit 60. Big Mum was in her 60s. Whitebeard was in his 60s, right? They were part of Roger's era, if anything, really. Yeah?
Yeah.
Then we get to the next generation, and although there were generations in the Yonko prior, really, looking at this generation, this is the dudes in their 40s. But what's Luffy doing here? That's right. He stole Mihawk's spot as a Yonko.
I know.
He stole Mihawk being in his prime 40s, where the other boys are in their 40s, right? Luffy's just laughing his ass off, hand over eyes, just like, I stole your spot, bruv. Get out. You know what I mean? Because if Luffy wasn't present, right? Who would be really, who would you be looking at to fill this spot right now?
One of the higher tier warlords. Honestly, I was hoping, and I know that I'm biased, I was hoping that Boa would take over Big Mum's spot as another woman, because I was hoping that she doesn't go down to Kobe. I'm begging.
If you
Or
literally
Mihawk.
if you literally replaced the Luffy panel here with Mihawk, you've just got the top 4 strongest people in their 40s.
Which is actually funny because I think we should do not maybe now, but an emergency top 20 after one. We need an emergency top 20 or top 30 stream because the list has shifted so much since when we first did it. It's insane.
We should do some fun group videos. Do you know what would be fun as well? Ranking all the fights of Wano.
Yes.
In a
Like
tier list.
in this month's break, we should go down and make the best fights streams and have each other's opinions. Like we should really make the next month like a good recap on previous stuff in One Piece so far. I'd love that.
What I would like to say though, right, is this right here, I think is going to shift very fast. I think we're looking at the edge of a cliff, right? Where within the next couple of chapters, I could see Blackbeard skyrocketing in bounty again.
Yeah.
And I think we're close. Like, Shanks is alive, right? Sweet. I'm happy with that. I think we're close to a point, though, where if one more Yonko went down, they may just get rid of the system altogether. Like, they may just stop referring to people like that altogether. You know what I mean?
Maybe not. I don't think so. I think it's an important classification for people. I think if it just keeps going down, they would give it a name to the age. Like the
Yes.
age of fallen Yonko, but they will never get rid of Yonko.
Because
the
I feel
title.
like it sort of leads to the point where it's like the warlords, where it's like there's only so many times you can replace a warlord before it just isn't impactful.
Well, I disagree in the sense that the difference between warlords and Yonko is the Yonko is a way for the public and people to be aware of the biggest dangers on the sea currently. The warlords are government ordained, registered. They're not the same. For me, the Yonko system will never be abolished because it's not something to abolish. It's a title. It's not
I
a job.
I
Whereas being a
think
warlord is a job.
I think the Yonko title may evolve into something different, especially when Luffy becomes Pirate King. You know what I mean? Although maybe not. Maybe you'll have Pirate King and then the four Yonko under that level. You know what I mean? In terms of like reputation to the world.
Well, that's what I think. I think you can never break that system because it 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 has okay, this is going to sound weird, but it has information in its title, as in knowing who is the biggest threat to you on the sea is different from the warlords because that's a job. You get asked to be it, you are supposed to have obligations. Getting rid of a system that doesn't work in your business, that's pretty much what it's like. But we're talking about the king and queen. You need to know who these people are. You can get rid of a monarchy obviously, but I mean to get rid of that system just because you have to replace it, it doesn't make so much sense. But I would just call it the age of falling Yonko. There would probably be in history when they write it down will just be noted as the time where things shifted heaps.
That's fair.
But yeah, or at least that's just how I think about it.
It like I said though, it feels like we're standing on the edge of a cliff
Yeah.
because Wano's done, but there's so many moving parts that are about to take action that stuff's really about to just dramatically change again, one after another, one after another, one after another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, shit's probably gonna hit the fan.
Like at this point in time, the last hanging point that really needs to start getting talked about is what was Blackbeard going after? Who was the pirate that Shanks talking to the Gorosei about and trying to get them acting upon? Then the warlords, then the revolutionaries. Like these plot points, and like the more we just push them off, like yeah, we get to think about them a bit more, but it's like anytime any one of these subjects is going to come up, it's really going to shift the world really dramatically, really quickly. You know what I mean? And the fact that we've had a week and a couple of days since the warlords were abolished, right? And one of them technically became a warlord. Sorry, one of the warlords became a Yonko in Buggy, right? Has me questioning what's happening with the rest of them. You know what I mean?
One of the weird things I'm looking forward to is I'm looking forward to Shanks reading that Luffy's a Yonko. Because I feel like we've seen Shanks's reactions as we've gone along to Luffy's career progress. And I really hope that we get to see, like, when he first got a bounty, even Garp was laughing and Sengoku was like, look at your no good grandson. And like there was those panels of everybody's home reaction. Like I just want to see Dadan faint or something, you know what I mean? Just being like, I never thought this little shit
Mark my words, if we
would
leave
make it this far.
Wano in the next 2 months of chapters, and I know we're about to take a month break, so really in the next month of chapters, mark my words, Shanks is going to actively seek out Luffy.
I mean, yeah, he crushes rookies. He's left Luffy alone, I think, only for this amount of time because of personal affection. But now, if he believes that Luffy is this level, he might be like, okay, let's time to see what you've got.
Sage is asking, when do I think Luffy will destroy Fisherman Island in the final war, taking down Marijoa? Really? It could be the final hit against the final boss of the series. Because if you think about the Bajran gun and what it did to Kaido, punching him through Wano all the way down into the magma pools, if Luffy punches him from the top of Marijoa all the way down through destroying Fishman Island and down to the bottom of the ocean, there's not really a more definitive or bigger win in the series, is there?
I've always liked your theory that the Grand Line will be broken.
Well, I've always,
And
for
I
the
just-
longest, thought it would be broken, but it was always a question of who would do it. Would it be, Blackbeard? Would it be Luffy? I'm just saying, like, the punch we just saw Luffy do on Kaido, if he did that to him while above Marijoa, right? Imagine punching him through the red line, destroying the red line, then down through 10 kilometers, 10,000 meters of ocean, water pressure crushing him as he's just shooting down, literally blowing the hell out of Fisherman Island and just sinking to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Like, I know it'd be like, you know, I know we've seen it a couple of times already and people might get bored of that going, oh, I don't really want that to happen. But it's like, for the final hit, just think about what that does, you know what I mean? Like, the way Luffy destroyed Fishman Island and the prophecy was like, a man with a straw hat would destroy Fishman Island. It's like, yeah, he'll destroy it while creating equality for the world. You know? Okay. Green Bull, so all this, and I still haven't even mentioned the last bit. So Green Bull rocks up, right at the end, rolling up on the Flower Capital, about to fight them all. What do you guys think is going to happen next chapter?
I think he's gonna go after Luffy. I mean, that's why he's there. But I think other shit's gonna hit the fan. I feel like Akainu's gonna find out what's happening, and subordination, as we know, is not Akainu's favorite topic. And I properly think that he's gonna send in the middle before something can break out, because I don't think that Green Bull can die at Wano. Anyway, after just being introduced, I almost feel like he's gonna send people. He's gonna send the Marines there, especially since if it's a normal person like Daniel thinks, then they're gonna snitch, because you're not gonna keep your mouth shut for an admiral versus a fleet admiral that's known to burn people to death.
All right, now
for perceived mutiny. So
hear me
I
out
wouldn't
on
be
this.
surprised if Akainu sends people, because he's like, I'm just gonna rock your shit.
Hear me out on this, right? Green Bull and Fujitora have been shown actively supporting each other in sort of a rebellious way. We saw on at the Reverie, Green Bull was like, Akainu sent me to capture you, but I'm not going to do that. You're just chill. You just want to do your own thing. Go talk to your kings and that and do your thing to abolish the warlords, right?
Yeah.
He actively turned a blind eye to let him do that, yeah?
I think that's a hilarious pun that you've accidentally just done.
Yeah, like the...
Turn a blind eye.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Like, I don't even think you realized that. You were like,
No, I didn't.
No, he like turned a blind eye, and I was like, well...
But if that is Fujitora that he was on the transponder to, right? That he's saying, oh, you bring a ship. The interesting thing may be, if we have two admirals here, if Green Bull starts a fight with Luffy, and isn't getting beaten by any means, but isn't losing by any means, right? And then Fuji shows up and is like, hey, Sakazuki-san wanted us to grab Nico Robin. And he's like, I really wanted to get this brat, but fine, we'll settle for her. And you have a search and destroy team of Fuji Green Bull grabbing Robin. So Green Bull, like, sends his tentacles out, grabs Robin, starts trying to bail out while Fuji's just covering him with gravity. And they bail, causing all the pirates to have to scatter together to then start, escaping while the Straw Hats try and pursue. And it may not even lead to a military base, because if they just are following, right, trying to get Robin back, it may just mean they get sidetracked even to somewhere potentially like Elbath. You know what I mean? Where they have
I
to
hope
tactically retreat because maybe their ships get damaged or this and the other.
I genuinely hope that the old mate sacrifices himself, like Odin's dad. For all he sat back and allowed, he was like, "No, I can read them. Take me." Because I don't
Ooh.
want Robin to be captured again, because it's a cliche at this point to have a crew member kidnapped, and it's even more so for it to be poor Robin. But it would be interesting if he volunteers and then they try and get him back. If they weren't going to do anything and then Robin's like, "No, we can't leave him in the hands of the Marines because he knows."
What about the
And
flip of it, where they capture Robin, they bail, and it's just that Robin's made a clone since we know she can do that now?
and I wouldn't mind that, because then it gives them an excuse to chase and stuff. I really don't want it to be a repeat of Annie's Lobby. I think that would be my biggest fear, because if we're approaching the end of One Piece, I want new excitement. I don't want what we've
Rehashed.
been had. Yeah, I don't want that. And a lot of people seem to, and I'm not going to judge anybody that does. I think Oda's writing over the past like 23 years has demonstrated he's capable more than rehashing a storyline. Like, he does parallels, but everything's new and exciting, and I would think it would be a shame if one of the last things that we got in this series was a repeat of an arc almost identically.
No, that's fair. That's fair. What about you? What do you think is gonna happen next?
Um, I really don't know what's gonna happen with Robin. Um, I think like obviously Green Bull is there to capture Robin, but he's obviously going off in his own thing. I don't think any of the other navy are going to show up. I don't necessarily know if Fuji's going to come. I think that's kind of like I think that's been hinted at strongly enough. It'll like assume that. I think that's kind of like a blind guess. Like yeah, I'm honestly like so the most basic thing that I would say is he's gonna find Luffy, fight Luffy. It's gonna be a tough fight, and then he'll kind of start losing, and he'll go, all right, well, I got to get Robin and leave, and then he'll kind of
Hmm.
try to get Robin and leave. The thing is that like they get Robin, then it's like, oh, okay, now we have to go to Marijoa, get her back. Saba's already potentially, if Oda wants it to be,
Yep.
at Marijoa. So there can already be a reason to go there. So unless Oda just wants to like really lay it on thick and be like, you guys really have to go here now.
Well, Oda would do that though, because look at, like, he did it with Marineford as well, right? Where like they were teeing up for ages. Like, you're gonna accidentally run into a Marineford. You got this triangle of government facilities. There's gonna be this war there. Big names are brewing there. They're starting to gather people there, and like, even though we were like, oh, we're gonna save Ace from Impel Down and that, they were just he was subverting all the lines over to Marineford, being like, it's just be prepared. It might come. You know what I mean? And then
Very true.
all of those things, when it actually blew up in our face, ended up being all the things that ended up like saving us, like Mr. Three, Buggy, all those, like Ivankov, all those people that like weren't initially going to be there, but just also got subverted there. You know what I mean? Really just blew up and ended up being the only reason why we succeeded.
Hmm.
Because it's like with this here, like say whatever happens and we have to eventually go to Marie-Joie, right, or to New G1 or Marineford, sorry, right, New Marineford. If the warlords are captured, if Sabo's captured and stuff like that, just think about the allies would make in those situations going to start a conflict there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like there is build up happening potentially for like another Impel Down 2.0, but maybe not in Impel Down. You know what I mean? But even then, it's
It'd be funny if it did happen in Impel Down and Dofi was still kicking. Could you imagine his reaction?
I'm waiting for the moment where Bon Clay invites Doflamingo to escape.
Oh, Dofi has the finesse that he would totally get invited.
No, but think about it. Like Bon Clay comes down and is like, "Oh, are you a cute swan? Are you? You want to team up, big guy?" Right? And it's like Dofi would jack up Bon Clay, right? But it's like just Bon Clay's just like, I dig his style. What is it? I'll let him out.
I think if he found out he was connected to Luffy, he would play his cards.
Yeah.
Because I think if he thought for any degree of time that he was like, oh, this person knows Luffy, I'm gonna get out of here and I'm gonna play it up. And poor Bon Clay would be like, any friend of Luffy's,
See,
any friend of Luffy's, I'll help you out.
the thing
Like,
is
I'm
there.
with you.
The thing is there. Even though Bon Clay is friends with Luffy, he was also enemy with the Straw Hat, so he might like understand better than anyone. It's like you're an enemy, you must be friends with them then. You know what I mean? Like just like
Yeah.
it's so dumb. It's smart.
I would laugh if Dofi had a change of heart. Not a change of heart, because he's a complicated character. But I mean like a change of perspective and he just decided he was like, yeah, what the hell.
Well, I could
Yeah,
see
I'll help you guys out.
if
Righty-ho.
Luffy bares his fangs at the Celestial Dragons, I could see Dofi capitalizing on it by going, I can take out my greatest foe. He's already taken out Kaido, so the person that's like Kaido and Big Mom, so the two biggest
Risk
people
to me.
that were risks to me, even though I was doing business with them, the two biggest problems to me are taken care of. I can almost start fresh, and I've already got all those underworld connections to essentially go straight back to what I was doing. As long as I'm not
But
causing,
I'm my own boss.
as long as he doesn't go to oppressing people straight away, people like Luffy aren't just going to come bearing down on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot to be had. Chat, what do you think is going to happen in the next couple of chapters in there? Because it's like we got a lot more plot lines wrapped up in a weird way today that I was talking about, but it's like at the same time we've still got 5 poneglyphs to read, 1 poneglyph to find. Yeah, we've got we should at least get the new name of Onigashima, which should be important. Like there was no point bringing up saying it was having another name with Marco if it was never going to become something, right? We've got escaping Wano, and it's not going to be like Dressrosa because what? Pulling up the map of Wano, we're at the flower capital, right? Oh, okay. The flower capital is pretty close to Hapu Port, which would mean they're pretty close to being able to escape the country as is from here. You know what I mean? Like, they're closer, so they're closer to the port than the capital is to the town of leftovers. So they really. I was thinking it was going to take them a long time, but no, just looking at that, they could really get out of here in the next like half an hour if needed. But they need to come in the direction. So if you look at Green Bull, right, where he's coming in here, they need to escape to his left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which would be interesting if we have like a chase scene, because that's also one thing that we've never really had the Sunny have to deal with is like plant life trying to grab at it.
True.
So that would be a cool or interesting aspect of that. Other than that, is there much that you guys want to talk about? Or are we getting pretty close to covering
It's
everything?
kind of hard because I think we've talked about the really juicy things, and without heaps of other information, it's just I guess what we want to see. it's hard at this point. I feel like the review of the stream, but the chapter's pretty straightforward. I think you could make 1,000 videos since like in adaptation of what we want to see later on in
Yeah.
terms of a whole, but in terms of relevance to this chapter, I feel like we've pretty much covered it.
It is still important to note that it's still nighttime, though, so we still haven't had like a dawn sort of situation. And we haven't really had like Hitetsu, even though he's Sukiyaki, right? We see in his little treasure chamber, there's still heaps of swords there, right? And we know that he had two of the famous 21 grade swords, including the Nidai Katetsu. So I still feel like there should be a little bit of stuff like that that's left up in the air. Like, honestly, at this point in time, I would be surprised almost if while Tengu is talking to Robin, if he doesn't give Robin a sword to say like, give this to your swordsman to say thanks for our like for saving Wano. You know
I
what I
like
mean?
that.
Because it just like it feels weird that we like had the arc of swords and it started off like, oh yeah, you know these swords that we haven't talked about in 1,000 chapters that are still important that you need to keep an eye out on. Well, here they are, and we're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which would be crazy because we've got no idea. Ooh, it's starting to rain heavy. I might drop my volume a little bit. Having a tin roof makes for a very large background noise. Yeah, so I still feel like there's a lot of sword lore that should be left to have, which could come back into play if Green Bull has a black blade, and the people of Wano see that. You know what I mean? It really could just be like a good conversation starter for that aspect of the story to come like looping back around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I don't think I really asked. 1 to 10, what would you rate Green Bull's design?
I'm probably. Oh, I really wish they continued with the long flowing hair that was hinted in the silhouette, but I'm not mad at his design. I'd probably give it 8 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10.
I love the drippy pants. I wish I wish he didn't have one piece legs as much, but
First are the One Piece legs,
oh,
honestly.
honestly, it's painful. You know what I mean? But other than that, his design looks pretty good. I like it. Like I said, I think it would be funny though. You know how I was talking about like the eyes silhouetted.
Yeah.
If he can like grow like glasses over his eyes with his plant ability for when he's flying.
That would make me actually laugh. I would proper cackle if that was the case.
So
I would,
so when he's flying in that, he has like these you
like
know
bug shields.
yeah pretty much right. I reckon that'd be funny because it would make him look like because like he's based on a Yakuza, right? It'd make him look a lot more bikey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I love his design. It's still wild that we need to get all the other bounties. But something else to really think about for a minute is we see in the celebration that all of the minks are still here. So they didn't leave with Zoe in that 1 week period.
No, they decided to stick around.
So even though Zoe's left, they're still here. So they need to leave Wano at some point in time, or they're going to stay in Wano permanently now, in some capacity. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they'd stay permanently, but
I think they're just still staying around because it's like party time.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it like one of the things was like you know how they've got a connection with the Kozuki.
Yeah.
It may be that they start leaving some of their forces here to rekindle that connection. You know what I mean?
That would be really nice. I'd love if that was Carrot's role, because if Carrot wasn't going to join the Straw Hats, I feel like she's taken to Wano really well.
That could work. Especially with all the new greenery coming back, she could eat all the carrots she wants.
Yeah, something cute like that. I feel like that would be very fitting for her to have, because I think she's taken to exploring outside. Though I think that was always her thing, and I think that's why most people thought she was going to join the crew. So for her to end up having left Zoe, but setting up forces for her people is very on brand to me.
Also, like, looking at this bottom panel again, it looks like Green grows his own glasses.
I will laugh if he
Just
does.
shades on, shades off.
I will laugh if he does,
If-
because that's such a character trait. Like that is.
That'd be funny, though, if he just randomly, like, spawns glasses in to look cool while talking, but then
Yeah.
immediately has to take them off so we can see.
Yeah, because they're thick and polarized
Yeah.
polarized or something. That'd be fucking hilarious.
Alright then. We might start wrapping the stream up there.
Okay.
Cheers for coming out. Definitely a great chapter. I don't know about you guys. I rated this chapter a 10 out of 10. I just absolutely loved it start to finish. I
Yeah.
thought it was phenomenal. The only things that I'll really say is I cannot wait to see the rest of everyone else's bounties and how big they jumped. And since we're splitting the bounties equally, there may be a base jump between all three crews. Okay? So like you know how like everyone associated with Luffy got a 50 mil increase for Dressrosa?
Yeah.
There may be a
Mhm.
similar sort of thing here for that, but where I was saying for the Straw Hats in the past, it may happen for all three crews.
Ooh. Okay.
So we may get like an overnight skyrocket where Kid and Law's crew maybe do start looking more like a Yonko crew because all of a sudden some of their fodder characters start getting higher bounties even though they've done jack shit.
Okay, I can see that.
Also, the fact that Robin's down here looking at the poneglyph but hasn't read it yet, and we still have so many other poneglyphs for her to read, including the poneglyph Robins, right? I need her to start talking about this information because I swear to God, if they off-screen her, if they off-screen her take-in of this information, I'm not going to be happy. Like, if in this last week she's already read all the rubbings and stuff like that, I'm going to be like, really? Really? You know what I mean?
I hate to say it, but I feel like that's something that will happen. It's very on brand.
Yeah, it would kill me a little bit. Other than that, like I was saying, Queen, sorry, R.I.P. I love how Jack's not even here, which is implying that Jack already died by getting impaled by Inarashi. Jack didn't even make it to the stage of recovery when he just got impaled.
Poor Baba.
I mean, he already got his L to Fujitora out of the Admirals, you know what I mean? He doesn't need to
That's
double down.
That's true.
Just think about how much more disrespectful it would have been if it was all three at once.
I still feel fucking sorry for him though. Like he had one of the most formidable introductions of any person in this series, and then has been reduced to nothing but. But like such a disappointment. Like he was so formidable. Zoe made him terrifying, and then he was introduced, and I was like, "What the hell is happening?"
Remember how hype we got for the scabbards when one of them like clashed against him and cut his sword?
Yes,
Mate.
we
We
were
were just
like,
oh
"Let's
my
go!"
god, the scabbards are so strong. No.
Oh.
Oh,
The worst
weren't
part
they
is,
cute?
I
Weren't they
remember back in
cute?
the day where people were like, who would win, Jack or Cracker? Who would win, Jack or Dofi? And people were just like, Jack's gonna just murder him, you know? Jack's trunk swing is gonna be so strong, it'll be just absolutely obliterating towns and stuff like that. And the poor boy, he gets cut a few times on his face, the poor fella, and then he just gets, like, through his lower intestine, just impaled by a dog man with a peg leg. That's just like, He's sitting
Oh,
there, his life is flashing
like,
before his
oh.
eyes, and he's like, really, this is how I go out. Man, I should have just stayed in the water against Fujitora.
Oh, but no, but I look at him and I'm like, I was really scared. It's not even the same character to me. I'll tell you what I mean. I mean, Zoe painted this ruthless killer, this soulless man. And it was one of the first times I think, because don't get me wrong, Tofi's bloodthirsty, but the thing is, I think he's more like, I'm gonna conduct some experiments, and if people die, people die. I don't actually think he actively it's not that he doesn't enjoy murder. It's just not his card. But I feel like Jack was one of the first people
That
on
reveled in
such
it.
a huge scale that I was like, he's terrifying. He is wiping out anybody, male, female, child. It was just this obliteration of an entire species of people that they kept hidden for people that actually existed. Because I remember that Raizo friggin' reveal was just
Incredible.
so emotional. And then he gets actually properly introduced. I'm like, this is a 5-year-old. Like Kaido's having to keep an eye on you. Like you're an actual child. You're an actual child that throws tantrums, and actually everyone says, "Oh, you're so strong," and sticks his accomplishments up on the fridge. But he's not even remotely the character that I thought he was gonna be. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I was like, I have no idea what's going on with this character.
I understand how you feel. Look, I'm just gonna say one thing though. Despite all that for Jack, can we just say how impressive it is that Queen's up and running after getting Team Rocketed off Onigashima?
Yeah, actually, that would be a really good question. Who had the top 3 best showings in Wano and the 3 worst showings in Wano?
Well, number one, the best showing in all of Wano above everyone else is 100% the freaking fifth Yonko, Raizo. Raizo just chef kiss. Absolute weapon, right? Shown to be able to re-deflect any attack with his scroll. The man's a perfect counter. And then he's got the paralysis jutsu where he can just put his fingers together and you can't move. The man's just secretly Gold Roger's perfect rival, you know what I mean?
Okay, my first best showing. I'm gonna have to. Obviously, number 1 for me is Luffy. I think Luffy, obviously, especially with the whole Joy Boy, I feel like he's one my top 3
Look,
best
Yeah.
showings.
Above everything, yeah.
best
Yeah.
showings. I'm not saying these are the strongest people, but like the people
Yeah,
that
I'm not
surpassed
disagreeing
my
either.
shit, like that, like oh yes, I love this person every time they're on screen. I think it's
No, that was me as well because anyone that knows me personally, my hidden dirty secret is I don't know how I feel about Luffy yet. He's taken a while to get into my soul, my heart, my feels. But for me, his like I never fucking expected his fruit to be what it was.
yeah,
And for him, well, I think we all kind of knew he was going to be Joy Boy, but the freaking Toon Force, like his character development in this arc has been crazy.
my top three like surpassing my expectations this arc, right? Were Luffy for obvious reasons, Ulti for just not dying ever, right?
Yeah, Ulti was pretty fucking.
And a Pooh for being Mr. Get One Shot and Get Back Up. He's Mr. Redemption. Like dead
Yeah,
ass.
I just hated Boo too much.
I was not
I don't want
expecting
to give him any credit.
I was not expecting a Pooh to be able to knock out Luffy even for a split second. A Pooh had Luffy, Law, Kid, and Killer on the ropes at the beginning of the war. And then everyone took their turn in the roulette, one-shotting him. And he was just getting back up, just like, nah, man, ain't nobody keeping me down. Ain't nobody keep the party down. Like,
Nah, I'm with Daniel. I can't stand
dude,
a Pooh.
no, but that's the thing. I used to hate him. and it's grown on me now where I'm just like, yo,
Not as much as a
he's-
Rouge. I don't know what he's done that makes me ask Supernova eggs. I don't know what it is, but I can't I can't stand him.
Really?
I don't know what it
Massive
is.
energy.
Okay, for me, pre-time skip when the Supernova were introduced, you want the 3 Supernova that I didn't give a flying F about? It's Capone. I was just like, yo,
Yeah.
dude, you middle-aged
Yeah.
fat loser, get off the screen, give it to someone else, right? I didn't care for Bonnie, right? Because I was like, okay, she's gonna just be able to one-shot you either. It's not really that impressive. Like, I didn't see her as a brawler or like having a long drawn-out fight. It's either she wins or she doesn't. So I was like, you're not gonna be that interesting to me. Move on, please. And I think the other one that was probably the least interesting to me was probably Drake,
Oh, true. Drake made me sad.
right? But I'm not gonna lie. Since then, Oda did phenomenal work making me like Capone. Like Capone is an like. I just need some like Sunday like I need a spin-off series of like Capone's wacky adventures and that where he's just doing dumb shit. Like when the whole Cage Chateau fell and Capone's like saying goodbye and that and he's hammering down the sign like straw hats went that way. I'm like, you little shit. You know what I mean? Like I actively did not like seeing him on screen pre-time skip, post-time skip. He grew on me, right? That's what Apu's done. Apu, I disliked Apu more than Drake actually on his first showcasing. I was like, dude, your teeth weird me out. I'm not into the music, right? You've got a head like a Canadian from South Park. I just can't.
Oh no, please tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, no, I did not like Apu at all. Hits Wano, and I'm sitting here just like, dude, Wano started, and I was like, Hawkins, you beast, yes. And then it shifted to the second half of Wano, right? And I was just sitting there, just like, Apu, where's this man been hiding?
Oh,
He be
nah,
he
I
be
can't.
he be bringing the party. He be bringing the pain. Like, dude, he got one shot by Kid. He got one shot by Zoro. He got one shot by Drake. He got one shot by CP0. And he just keeps getting back up. And it's just like, the dude just will not stay down. The dude just will not die. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I hope he did.
After Supernova's pours his heart out about suddenly changing his mind about it and how much he loves him, Eggs just goes, I hope you died.
Dude, I was even surprised with how good he was with swordsmanship when he was out there blocking Zoro with his tonfa.
Savage. Savage.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
he
he's
exceeded.
he did well. I have to give you that because it's just wrong if I don't. But every part of me is in denial about him.
Dude, I'm not saying you have to like him. I'm saying you have to acknowledge like he far exceeded your expectations.
Okay, mine's gonna be a bit red hot. My 3 are that I think didn't meet the mark is actually I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. Is actually King, Queen, and Kaido.
Kaido.
Yeah.
What could Kaido have done to meet the mark?
I just wanted more. I thought the half-ass fucking backstory of Vodka Kingdom was just insulting. With nothing else to him. At this late stage in the game, I wanted more substance, and all he felt like was I'm big and I brawl and that's it. And I'm just like, as the standard of villain that we should be getting this late stage in the game is way beyond that. I need a motivation. I need a why. I need something other than I'm big, I'm scary, I'm a brute. That's the only reason I do
Especially
things
when he
because I can.
flexes on people like Senor Pink and pulls a gang backstory out of nowhere.
Exactly. So I know he's capable of it, and I just feel like at this late stage in the game, like Big Mom had a backstory, and still people said she was disappointing, and to a degree she was. I came up against Kaido, and I really, really wanted to like him, hey, which is why I resisted accepting he was dead. I did because I went at this stage in the game. I'm looking for my pains. I'm looking for from Naruto. If anyone's wondering what I'm saying, like I'm looking for for villains that have such weight, such intention behind what they're doing, and even if you're a big bad brute, why are you like that? Justify to me. But all he was just a drunk dude who had power, who just was like, yeah, I'll throw something around, I guess. That's it. That was it. And I think people get caught up in how good the fighting was that you miss what a disappointing character he actually is. Like that's it. There's no
Okay.
fundamental depth to his character at all. And King and Queen, honestly, felt the same to me. I thought for the crew of the most wanted person in the in the One Piece world, like as Yonko, I expected so much more from him and his top two.
Okay. I'm
That's just me.
I'm gonna take you.
It wouldn't have been amazing arc otherwise. That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna take your top. You pick the top three of the Beast Pirates, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna raise you. I'm gonna raise you my biggest letdowns, being the
Yeah.
next three underneath them, with
Oh,
Jack,
okay, we're
Black
making a list.
Maria, and Sasaki. I think they were the biggest letdowns of the arc.
Oh, yeah, no, I think Black Maria went down like an absolute like bitch. But I think that was her point. I
I
feel like Robin putting her over her knee was the best thing.
I yeah, no, like good on Robin, but I still feel like Black Maria went down and she lived as a bug, right? So Saki, on the other hand,
Sassy here in this
Dude,
house this
I-
evening, ladies and gentlemen.
I expected more
Lord.
from people in the high 400 mil range.
I just
Like they were in the same hemisphere as Luffy and Law for having taken out Doflamingo.
to me, and again this is such a bias because I know a lot of people love Lucci, but to me the best One Piece villain is Doflamingo. And I'm not saying that because of power. I mean his history, his motivation, his complexity as a character, his parallels with Jesus and his disciples.
I back that
I
up.
think everything about his character was so meticulously thought through. That's the standard of villain I was expecting from Kaido. I feel like we've been waiting for Wano. We were waiting for Kaido, and he just ended up just like it felt like beginning One Piece standard villain. I'm big. I'm scary. I hit people. I oppress people. Aren't I scary? And that was it. There was nothing else to him, and I just think that's so disappointing. So disappointing.
I
Which I feel like people will hate me for.
look.
I don't care. I don't
love-
care.
I love that you're
There's
like,
nothing
"Oh,
you
man,
can
I'm gonna
say
get
to
in a
me
lot
that
of trouble for
that
this.
that
This
changes
is
my
so
mind.
hard."
There's nothing you can do to change my mind. He's done nothing. He was just this big oaf that got drunk and swung a sword and was strong and did it because he could. That was it.
I will say.
And there's nothing to stand up for that.
I will say his backstory may come later, despite how people may feel about that. Because his backstory may come, even though he's gone. Oda does a lot of work in making characters reframe in a different light from nuance, while
I don't know if
changing
he's gonna
stuff
get more
later on.
backstory if he's dead.
He will probably get more backstory if we ever get more information on Rocks.
If it is rocks, personally, and again this this leads back into my controversial opinion, which is that he's not very well written. So I genuinely believe that Oda was like, fuck, if I'm about to kill him, I have to give them something about him. And then he threw a fucking bitter bit of backstory at
See,
us about some fuck off vodka kingdom, which to it, and then went, yep, I'm gonna do my hands of you, sir. And then, because there's no reason for us to find anything about Kaido unless it's rocks.
See, I agree, but that's part of the problem as well, because I've been vocal that I'm disgruntled about this, right? But
Yeah.
Kaido also had 3 flashbacks, right? Kaido had his flashback when he was being defeated. He had his flashback inside of King's flashback, where he was building up his pirate force, and then he had his flashback inside of Odin's flashback, where he was in his formulative years doing his evil. You know what I mean? I still feel like we never got throughout all that. I still feel like we never got the what made Kaido Kaido, right? Which I feel like is the big thing about it. But I feel like there's not a lot that needs to be done for that to happen.
Yeah, but I don't think it's
I'm
gonna
just
happen.
I'm sitting here and I'm just like, if the series ends and that doesn't happen, I'm just gonna be like, that's a big fumble. But at the same point
But
in
it did.
time, I'm sitting here going, Oda's done it for other characters where he gives that flashback later on in a different context and adds a bit more. And I mean, shit, we'd ride it. You know what I mean? Like, look at Buggy and Shanks. They were introduced heaps early in the series. We saw Rayleigh and all that, and we were like, oh yeah, you know, boo-hoo, woe was Buggy, whatever. Then later on, it's like, oh no, that was a Pirate King's crew, and then you go back to that in a new light, and then are like, man, I actually like this a lot more. You know, it adds to it, and then as they, you know, chop and change and add more stuff to it, it's just like, okay, this is interesting because
I don't agree with that because I think Buggy was always going to have relevance later on. The thing about and Shanks is still the remaining Yonko. That's why the fact that Big Mum is dead and nothing came of the fact that she didn't know that she ate her friends and family and it was a huge plot point means to me we're searching for validation of Kaido's character that's never going to happen
see.
because he's not going to go back and talk about Kaido because Big Mum's story is going to have there is no I'm going to get my memories back
I
and I'm going to turn into a good person. There is none of that. There was no reason to information apart from story for which turned out to be for no reason really apart to go when she forgot her memory she became a decent person, so I guess it was to show her, when you strip away people's trauma they become good people at heart. But apart from that we got all that information for absolutely the only reason we Buggy is because those characters are actually going to play a role later on. They're ongoing. Kaido's done. This was his arc. He's gone.
Kaido's done, but as Chat's just kindly put it, we still have Yamato joining the crew to add new context to things about Kaido, like even the story of Yamato's mother.
But does that eliminate a disappointment that he is now if he's dead? It doesn't really.
It does and it
Unless
doesn't.
it's a
You
beloved
can.
character like Ace, after story just feels like afterthought of what you should have done in the current to make them a good character.
I agree. Like I feel like it won't it won't undo the upset I felt at this time going, I wish I got more from Kaido. But what it will do is go on a reread, and I already know that information. It'll make me enjoy Kaido's character more another time around. You know what I mean? Because
I suppose that's true.
Oda's done that with other characters. Like, I mean, hell, even Luffy versus Enel. Now knowing that Luffy has the human fruit model Sun God Nika is like, yo, it's a false god versus a real god. There's a whole different nuance to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm worried because
If it
apart
doesn't
from
happen, I'm gonna be
Yamato's
hurt though.
think I'm still going to be hurt to a degree because while Luffy was fighting him, I wanted to have more hatred in my heart. I
Mhm.
really wanted to see him go down. Like when Dofi unleashed Birdcage on Dressrosa, and all of those innocent people were being killed or parroted, and Dofi was laughing because he just figured if I'm going to lose, I may as well take everybody else with me. And there was just horror. I wanted to hate him like I hated, like I loved, like a bit like Thanos. I loved to hate Dofi. But
Mm.
because I had none of that information at hand, I will never be able to love to hate Kaido.
No,
I just couldn't care less,
I
unfortunately.
agree with that. I agree
Yeah.
with that completely. But that's one of the things where it's like Kaido so far. A lot of people that are gonna say Kaido's their favorite character or that enjoy Kaido are gonna be people that are just in it for the might makes right and the fighting aspect of Kaido. I think.
Oh, I agree. Kaido and Luffy's fight, one of the best things ever. And I'd hate for people to think I'm being a hater because I think what happened transpired between Kaido and Luffy in terms of battle, awesome. And
But
what we got from Luffy on that perspective, from Joy Boy, awesome. But the character itself,
it's just lacking a little,
yeah,
just a
lacking.
little.
Yeah.
No, I
Especially when you have such a character like Luffy, who has so many layers and complexities and growth and change. Looks like he's just fighting an NPC.
but I will raise that in the idea that if Oda does go back around and add that stuff in later, would that work in the favor of Oda trying to say that to tell the narrative of Kaido seeking death and warmongering and wanting to die an impactful big death was taken out from under him, especially by not having his backstory included in his defeat. Even if we get it later for us to absorb, by not having it at the time, it makes it feel lackluster, which may have been intentional.
I guess for me, those type of flashbacks only work for characters you're endeared by. Because Ace, we didn't know any of their lead up. We found out that they weren't really brothers the same time everybody else did in that world, which was no, he's actually Gold Roger's son. And everything after Ace's death with those kids and their past was heartbreaking and painful and added so much depth to Ace that I think is why Ace remains a fan favorite to this day. Remains a favorite. I don't think that happens with villains. I think you get the flashback as you're fighting, like Senior Pink, and that's what makes your emotional stakes play out in a fight. I think if you do it as an afterthought, you can never relive that moment of that first time fighting that villain. But when you see it in a beloved character, that's when it works. I just don't think I've seen it work for a villain. You do the flashbacks in the middle of the fight as Oda usually does. That gives the fuel and the context for the emotions you should be feeling watching it and rooting for Luffy and understanding why Kaido's there and all of the rest of it. And then but doing it after is lazy because you want to live that fight that like first time that you see it. You've got all the emotion you need. I just don't think that
No,
changes anything for me.
I don't disagree with that. It's just Like I can sit back and go, if Oda was
Yeah.
planning for it to not feel successful, he's sort of
Yeah.
succeeded in that in a way. And
I'm
if that
I'm
was
also guessing
intentional, it works with the narrative of the character in a way. But if it isn't intentional and it never gets retouched up, I could see being disgruntled with it.
I also think that I may have offended Eggs because he exhaled
Huh?
really hard when I said Kaido as one of my most disappointing. So did you did you like
Yep,
Kaido?
you never gave us your top
Um,
three perks and
Yeah.
top
yeah,
three
look, I
pits.
just think like to an extent, some people are just I'm big and I punch hard. Like that you know what I mean? Like so one big thing, one big
Yeah.
issue that I have with the Marvel universe is that every single villain in every single Marvel movie has to have some kind of like, oh, I actually think that I'm doing it for a correct moral reason, but it's actually like a bad moral reason. Like no one's just evil. No one's just like a dickhead. Everyone's always like, oh, I'm trying to destroy half the universe because otherwise they'll starve. And then all the other villains are like, I'm trying to do this to give everybody
Mm.
hope. I'm trying to take over the world because people want to be controlled. Like they always have to give I think I'm doing a right thing to every single villain. And after a while, even though they're always different things, it gets quite repetitive.
Yeah.
With Kaido, I think the arc itself was big enough, trying to um, giving him. I honestly think like for example, the Odin flashback was way too long. I think they could have cut down the Odin flashback and increased Kaido's flashback because giving Kaido a super long flashback would just draw the arc out so much. And then, like at the end of the day, Odin's flashback was literally just someone who's dead. They
See,
Oh,
spent all that
you're
time together.
I
hurting.
So
You're
I do agree
hurting
that
me. You're
I do agree
hurting
that he's
me.
an I agree that he's an underdeveloped character and that he should have been developed more. But I don't think they need to hardcore develop every single villain that we ever face because then
That's
it's
true, but
like
if we didn't have
yeah.
Odin's depth, there would be none of the tragedy nearly.
but I feel like
Because of the lack
that
of
works
Kaido.
for it though, right?
I don't know necessarily because the thing is like we know Odin's dead. I think if covering more on what people have been living through, like I think covering
I feel
what
like
the
it hit all
citizens have been
three.
going through with the smiles and stuff is
Okay,
really good.
okay.
I think it hit all
But
three bases though, didn't it? Because it gave a bit of the mystery of like, hey guys, one is related to One Piece. Think about that. It gave this is what the people are suffering through and how long they've been suffering for and how it's deteriorated. Think about that. It gave us Odin, this beloved character, and why we should feel sad and be like angry at Kaido in a way on top of other reasons. Like it
Yeah,
it's
okay.
like you go from a
Like
general
that's
sense of
it.
upset
Killing
to be a
Odin?
personal sense, and then it adds on
Yeah.
top of that, like, yo, the scabbards, we're supposed to care for them, right? Even though it glosses over their introduction to Odin, we still got more time with the scabbards, just them there, to be like, yo, okay, I can kind of appreciate these characters more, so that when they start sacrificing themselves, like when Ashura Doji, who's dead now, right, says
Yeah.
in the Odin flashback, um, yo, this is the happiest I've ever been. This is the first time in my life I've ever known peace. Thank you, Odin. And Odin's like, yo, what the hell, man? That's so weird. Don't say that sort of crap to me. Right?
Yeah.
That hits a lot more now that he died to a fake Odin, right? While everyone in their life was suffering. It just it adds like, and it's
I think
yeah.
Odin's flashback adds for me what lacked in Kaido. Because I agree, not every villain needs to have a backstory or a reason for doing stuff.
Look
Some
at Wapple.
guys just want to watch the world burn.
Look
And
at
that is
Wapple, man. He just wants to eat the
yeah,
world.
completely
The
fine.
thing is, if you
But
think about it, the vast majority of actual real world villains are just like, I got bullied in high school.
Yeah.
Like that simple, you know, or like I got on drugs and I'm a little bit messed up. Like it's just
yeah,
really simple things. It's not like I want to make the world burn and helping it and all this crazy stuff.
I think because it was a late stage villain, even if he just wanted to say, I don't care. I don't care. Because I can. But it was
See,
more. It was just more.
I
Yeah, I don't know what it was that I was missing.
I wanted. Okay, this is gonna be a good way to break it down. I want from Kaido what I wanted from Doflamingo, which is I wanted not to feel empathetic for what he was doing, but I wanted
No.
to know why he was choosing to do what he was doing. Right?
Yes.
Like Doflamingo is a character who like parallels with Corazon, where it's like, yeah, he had all this stuff taken away from him and it was so tragic, but he chose to continue
He
living
chose
his
to
life
still be a dickhead.
like a
Yeah,
dick,
and that's what I.
right? Whereas Corazon chose to be nice. Whereas with Kaido, I want from Kaido to be the opposite of what I get from the Marines. Where with the Marines, I'm like, what's your sense of justice? How do you help the people? Why are you here helping people? Right? I don't like with the Marines. I understand the like you've got the wrong mindset, but you're like trying. You know what I mean? With Kaido, I wanted the opposite, where I was like, you want war, you want death. Why? I don't. It doesn't have to be a good reason. I just want it. If that makes sense. Like Kaido to me is like the definition of the way he was set up is I just want to see the world burn. Like my time has come. I just want to see the world burn. Whereas when I see the Marines and that, and I get like lazy justice, blind justice, like absolute justice, and that, I'm like,
Oda
oh,
does
that's a
a lot
warped
of
sense of
work.
a good thing.
Yeah, I agree that he's like underdeveloped for sure. Um, yeah, I was thinking about it and I was like, I was also kind of irked by like his kind of like simplistic, how simple he is. But I feel like I don't know, it's almost like I don't want to necessarily impose a standard of like every time you walk, like you know, every time Luffy just walks in and starts fighting someone, he has to learn their whole life story while they're
Yeah.
fighting. It's kind of like he went there and like he found out that Odin was like being that Kaido was like, you know, being an absolute douche and torturing a bunch of people, and he was like, I'm gonna take you down. Like, really, that's but like that's the thing. There is a lot of opportunities. Like there was a lot of things that could have easily happened that wouldn't have been too out of the way. Like, you know, he could have been more information about like Joy Boy and things like that. More information about like why he's interested in it because like for some reason Kaido knew shit about
I mean,
Joy Boy, and I kind of agree with you, Liv, where I don't necessarily know if I want it to be like after this arc or whatever, we like slowly start to learn pieces
his
Yeah.
backstory.
of it because yeah, because I just feel like it's like we've moved on. I don't care about like that's the thing. Like I
Yeah, I
really
won't
liked
care.
Dofi as well, but like if we start learning new things about Dofi now and like what he did in the underground, I'm just like whatever. He's over. He's done.
Unless it's him actually making it out of Impel Down and going after the Celestial Dragons, I won't. I love him, but
Yeah,
I'm like, why this late in the game am I being told information?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for.
See, I hear it.
Okay, then who are your top 3 biggest performers in the
Um,
series?
Mr. Sanj.
The Sanj.
Sanj
I
was a
love to
good
see
pick.
the Sanj love. I do.
He glowed up and
Good
glammed
stuff.
out.
We love to see some Sanj love.
Um, I mean, I fully agree with Ulti. Ulti was sick.
Dude, Ulti,
Just
He
Ulti
headbutting
blew
was.
me
everybody.
away. as a character.
Who else did really well?
Not really. To be honest, like there wasn't too much like amazing hype out of too many of the characters. Like I mean, everyone kind of fought the level that I thought they would fight. Actually, I'll tell you what.
I think a lot more of Frankie now after this arc.
Really?
I had been leaning back on it for
Okay.
ages though, and saying like those radical beams, they're Kizaru's lasers. They're gonna hurt people a lot higher than we think.
Yeah, they can do some stuff. And then just like the giant suit and stuff, and like I mean, that's the thing is that he was taking on like all of the dinosaurs, right? And the whole point was like he couldn't really get to the main guy because he had all the it was like the same
Fodder.
thing with yeah, it was the same thing with Jinbei. Like think about how easily Jinbei took out
Who's
Who's Who, and then but at the start he was just like slowly getting worn down and he couldn't really do anything because of the fodder. As soon as the fodder goes, he just smashes Who's Who. Same thing with Frankie, really, and that's pretty top tier when you really
Dude,
consider it.
Yeah.
Frankie was an absolute weapon, and I love it. And not to mention, like Frankie more than doubled Brooks' level of like impressiveness this arc. Like Frankie rocked up, one shot a number, did a burnout on a Yonko's face, and then essentially like mid diffed a Topirobo.
Yeah.
Like when Frankie beat Sasaki, Frankie still had all of his normal body. Like he was out of cola from fighting other bigger targets, but it's like, dude, Frankie was still clean.
I
Yeah,
was
true.
actually really pleasantly surprised.
I just love the Frankie love.
I have a weird question then.
Hmm?
Excluding Luffy, the MVP male and female of the Straw Hat crew. Obviously excluding Luffy, and I
Yeah.
think that's pretty apparent reasons why.
Nami really shipped up and showed out by taking down Ulti, helping defend Otama, turning the tide of the war by getting the gifters on their side. Like you got to think at the beginning of the raid, she got captured, she escaped, she clashed with Page One and Ulti. She defended them. She stood up against Ulti and Big Mum at one point. Like I love Robin, but Nami just put in way more work.
Is it cheating if I say Yamato?
Yeah, I'm saying
Ooh,
Yamato.
I didn't even
Is
think
it
of Yamato.
cheating if I say Yamato?
I didn't even think
Yamato
of Yamato.
for
Right?
that.
Because
Well,
yeah,
Yamato was the
But she
guy.
clutched the main fight of the, you know what I mean? Like if Nami isn't there, a bunch of people would have died, yeah, including her. But if Yamato wasn't there, Oda never got held off. He just slaughters everyone before Luffy
Yeah,
gets
but like
back.
without Nami, all the gifters are still against them.
I guess because she lost, but I mean, I would give that more to Tama, right?
Hey, it's
But
Tama's
really,
bodyguard, man. But I understand that. I understand giving it to Yamato because Yamato, bloody dude, Yamato showed out. Absolute weapon. You know what I mean?
what a character Yamato was. I didn't see her coming. I didn't see her connection with Ace coming. I loved her character.
I'm not gonna lie,
Oh,
this is an unpopular opinion. I just do not give a shit about their connection with Ace. I feel like
Ace!
everyone constantly is like, oh yeah, like this person's really cool because like, you know, she has the connection to Ace, and then Jinbei has the connection to Ace, and I'm just like, Ace is like well gone and it just doesn't play on my strings anymore. Like if Luffy is gonna be sad about it, I'm fully there, right? Like when that little arc when like with the little boys, like little Luffy and Ace and Sabo,
ASL.
that was like one of my favorite arcs. Definitely my favorite
My
flashback arc.
heart.
Really, that's your favorite flashback arc?
Definitely, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, but what
We're at
I
odds.
my I've got nothing. That was my point of that though is that it's important because if this is the last leg of the series, he's gonna go with Luffy through these characters. It's actually not about his death anymore. It's
Yeah,
actually
but
more
it's
about
just not.
Luffy.
I think
It's so bizarre. Okay, hold on. It's so bizarre to me that you're like, I don't need Kaido to be complicated, right? I don't, I don't need
Yeah.
those emotions. And at the same time, you're also like, I don't need the emotions from Ace. Do you just not like emotions?
No, it's that like
eggs for simpler
he's
characters 2023.
I like
Simplify characters, please.
I like small ways that they simplify characters. Like I like what is it, Axe Hand Morgan? How he's like got such like a masculinity complex that he like literally
Yeah.
welded a cigar holder onto his chin to hide his butt chin, and then shaved his hair to hide his like Goldilocks. That like little things like that they don't even mention, I think are like really awesome. But I feel like if they spoon feed it to me too hard, I'm kind of like, whatever.
Can we do a? We
Oh.
need to do a like a mock stream, maybe like April 1st next year. Just going through roasting One Piece character designs.
Oh
It
my
just kind of
gosh, let's
feels
do a
like
roast.
okay.
I would
Actually, here's how it
love a
feels.
roast.
How it feels is
While you're saying this,
Ace
I'm just
is
gonna go to
kind
the
of like
toilet quickly and I'll be back.
Okay.
Ace is kind of like it's like part of the story, right? But it's like the story that I read. So in a sense, it's almost like there's like some kind of possession that I have over it. And then if another character comes in and says like, "Oh, I'm really significant because like I'm gonna be representing Ace and carrying that on," it's like in my mind, it's like Luffy should be doing that, and like
Luffy should absolutely not be doing that.
memory.
Luffy should be
I mean,
his own person.
Luffy is Ace's brother, and that's the whole thing, right? Is that Ace was the son of the Pirate King, yada yada. I don't want to go into all that, but yeah,
Ruthless. You're ruthless. Are you a Sabo fan or not?
I love Sabo, yeah.
See, I don't.
Really?
Yeah, it's not that I don't like him. I just
I mean,
felt that
I
he
get it.
almost came back just because Ace died.
Yeah,
Like I
like
don't.
if I'm honest, he kind of just like is
He's just
a
there.
person. Yeah, he's just
Yeah,
kind of
I
there.
don't feel
Yeah,
any emotional attachment to him. Like
yeah.
I despise that he has Ace's fruit, in the sense that I felt like it was so unnecessary to do that.
That's the thing. That's another thing is that it's just grating on me how many because there's Jinbei and then there's like Luffy himself. I still think Luffy counts as one of them.
But
And then
you
there's
can't fault that. That's a main character.
I know, but that's the thing. It's like if you have the main character carrying on his brother's legacy, then you also have that other brother carrying on the brother's legacy, and then you have these two random people who met him once and were kind of friendly with him, who were also now carrying on his legacy. It's like, dude, you don't know him the way I knew him. Step off. Like Yamato does not have a claim to Ace's legacy anywhere close to Luffy or Sabo.
You
Or like
know,
anyone from the Whitebeard crew at all. Like
actually, funny
Mako has
enough,
more of a claim to Ace than Yamato does.
I sin Jinbei's connection, but I love Yamato's. Because I love Yamato, I don't know. I could have done without Jinbei's connection. Like I'm glad Jinbei just joined the crew. I'm not gonna say didn't want him to join. I could have done without his. But I
Mm.
love that they were connected. Um, and not because I care that he goes forth with Luffy, but I like the fact that the thought that Ace had a life. Which sounds weird because I'm like, it's cool to see that other people in the universe traveled to this place and that Ace had the same kind of element that Luffy does, which is trying to help others. Which for the most part, he fucked off, but he there was a connection there. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird,
Yeah.
but I'm.
I just feel like Yamato's connection is like the loosest out of all of them.
But it could have been a
Because
bay. I find that the most
yeah, but
interesting.
I mean like hers is literally just like, oh yeah, he came here once and he was gonna help me, but he couldn't, so then he left. Said he'd come back, but he
That's a
never did.
huge simplification of what happened.
Yeah, but I mean that's what you said we did with Kaido.
I mean, that's actually so fucking true. Ah, that is not true. Actually, I take that back. That is not true. I didn't simplify Kodo. That's what is Kaido.
I agree Kaido isn't that deep, but Yamato's connection with Ace
Yamato's
isn't that deep.
deep. What do you mean?
Yamato is kind of deep, but Yamato's connection with Ace isn't that deep. Like that's the thing. Yamato's connection with Ace is like one part of Yamato herself, and her as a character is like deep enough.
Oh, That's so true.
I
Oh my
fight for
gosh!
this
In
same
9
Yamato
minutes,
more than
it's gonna be
anything.
Supernova's birthday.
All right, I'm
exciting.
back. What kind of damage did I miss?
The disrespect on Eggs that Eggs has for Ace. No,
You're
no,
just agreeing that Kaido's as strong as that Yamato is as strong as Kaido.
absolutely.
Look, I've said my piece about this. You're not baiting me into another.
He actually thought. I love how you said that. I was like, no, we weren't, and then I was like, no, I'll play along. And then he totally thought that was the conversation we were having. How have you
Yeah.
scarred him? Have you actually had this conversation with him?
I've had
I
this
just-
conversation
I
with
just
all
feel
three
like-
of you.
Just
All
feel
two
like
of you.
Yamato's.
we
Yeah, that
have,
was
at least
Artilius.
for me, I have never said the Yamato is Kaido.
No, I didn't say as strong. Just memeing.
Mhm.
I think
I-
that she held him off pretty
Do you know
well, and Jade thinks that she was just getting slapped around.
That
like she was
soundbite.
Wasn't getting slapped around.
That soundbite. I'm gonna come back to that. Like, no, I was just lying. Yamato's not that strong. I'm gonna clip that. That's gonna be my ringtone
No.
for you, right? My life will be set.
No,
One
I
day I'm
don't.
gonna get you on a bad quote about Akinu, and it'll end your life.
It'll end your whole career.
Let me just save you the trouble now. Okay, you did nothing wrong.
Ooh,
Ah.
ooh, that's some shit talk there. That
Look,
is some.
he's a good guy from a certain point of view.
Your birthday is officially 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Your
Seven.
birthday is in officially 7 minutes.
Yeah. Woo!
Oh, getting keen, ladies and gentlemen.
Might end the stream just as it hits birthday time.
Oh. Alright, happy birthday for now then.
Yeah, whoa. At least.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
Okay.
But
And who's your male MVP of the crew? That's not Luffy.
Not Luffy. Oh, that is a toughie.
oh, what are you talking about?
Just
What are you talking about? You already named him earlier.
Brooke.
No,
I mean,
no, no.
wait, Frankie.
No. Mr. Goatleg.
I don't know who Mr. Goatleg is.
Sanji.
Oh, Sanji. Is he MVP? I don't think he carried hard enough.
What are you talking about? He saved Momo from execution, right? He held off King
Yeah,
for a
true.
bit. He saved the girls, right? He
He also fell into a problem with the girls.
right?
But
He delayed Black Maria until he couldn't handle her anymore. Like he literally defeated all the men in her area, right? Then
It's
proceeded
actually-
to low diff coin.
Oh, what did Zoro do, bro? Zoro needs to carry some weight.
Zoro
Playing around with his toy sword up on the rooftop doing nothing.
Zoro slashed Apu, got lost, got thrown through the roof, got his shit
died.
rocked by two Yonko,
Basically died, yeah.
then got a get out of jail free heal up, and then got his shit rocked by King until he got a couple damn good hits in. And then he was out.
Yeah.
Right? Now, mind you, those couple good hits were some heavy hits, man. Zoro did a good job, but he did not do a lot. You know what I mean? He did a
Red
lot,
hot.
but he didn't do a lot. Like,
Yeah.
he did some of the hardest stuff you could do this arc. But man, Sanji out here turning invisible, saving Momo from execution, right? Getting him out, giving him moral support so he can go and like rally the troops and that. Fighting off King for a bit. Yeah, he got his shit rocked, but he like clashed with him for a bit. Bails on that. Goes helps like all the odds ends and that. He was fighting with like he saved Chopper when Chopper was gonna get oosted by Queen, and then helps Marco take on the commanders for a bit as well. Like Sanji may never do anything to completion, but he's just constantly doing stuff.
So basically what you're saying is one's a jack of all trades and the other one is a...
Master of none.
Yeah.
Look, Zoro knows how to fight. That's it. Sanji knows who to save.
I definitely think
Sanji and Nami are the MVPs of the crew overall.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Oh,
is-
what did you look at that? My choice of ship coming in at top MVP ranking.
Hey, it is what it is. You got to know who to ship.
And
I
they
think-
have to. They have to. If they
I-
don't, it's just like the most sad story.
If
The
they
whole all
don't-
of One Piece turns into like a depressing tale.
No, if they don't end
No,
up
but the thing
together,
is,
the
if you-
only way I'll accept it is if Sanji gets the memories back that he's technically married to Pudding
married
and
to
kissed her.
Pudding.
Yeah.
My thing is this: if you look at the panel of everybody celebrating, Nami and Sanji are together, and I think ever since what arc? I think ever since Whole Cake, it's been cemented to me. It's no longer Nami and Luke. Not in the main story that there will be romance because that's going to be end series. But I think past Whole Cake, it's cemented. Actually, maybe Zoe because of Sanji's reaction to her dressing up, and Nami being a bit bashful about it. I think that cemented to me that if there were ever going to be inner ship couples, it's going to be Nami and Sanji.
What are you,
Especially her reaction to him in Whole Cake.
what are you talking about? Nami killer superiority.
Look,
Robin Killer would actually be pretty cool.
Oh, dude, could you imagine? Robin and Killer together, right? And like Robin,
wait,
like
Robin and
Killer,
Killer?
no, Robin and Killer. Think of this, right? And Killer just like goes on a murdering spree, jacking people up, and he's just like tell Robin is like, oh, I did this, and this today, and she's just like imagining it in like a heap cutesy manner.
Yeah.
Like that'd be like the disgusting power couple.
If Robin dates outside the crew, I actually kind of like Law for her.
You know that scene where Frankie's in Chopper's body and laughs, and Robin's like, "Don't ever do that again." Right?
Yeah.
That's Robin with Killer, where she's just like, "Put the mask back on, buddy. Just keep it on." You know what I mean?
That's awful. That's awful. Oh my gosh, we're 1 minute 2.
Yeah, it's coming.
Wait for it. Wait for it. I can't stop staring at it now. I'm paralyzed. I'm gonna sing Happy Birthday. I don't really care
Oh,
if
God.
you disagree. We have to.
Um,
We have to embarrass.
I
him.
do. So one thing I do is I relate chapters and that with like significant things that happened that week, and like if someone has a birthday that week, I like will link a character from that chapter to that person and be like, that's your character. I got Green Bull, and also I'm gonna stand Green Bull no matter what. All right, you hear me here, right? I've gotten on the Green Bull hype train, and I'm gonna stay on it. Right? Doesn't matter if it derails. Doesn't matter if I go down in a blaze of glory. Right? My favorite color is green. Dude shows up, one-handed one-shots, 2 commanders and their group of allies, and then proceeds to be like, I'm gonna go
Egg.
jack up the main character, right? I'm telling you.
Happy birthday to you. Ba-da-ba-dum.
Happy birthday to
to
you.
you. Happy birthday,
dear Jado.
Supernova. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip.
Hip,
Hooray. Hip hip.
hip.
Hooray. Hip hooray.
Good,
For
yeah.
he's
Alright.
a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly fellow. A jolly good fellow. So say all of us.
Alright.
So say all of us.
Wonderful. Let's wrap the stream up there, guys. Anything you want to say before we end?
No, absolutely not. I think it's been an awesome time. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. And we do have to work towards getting all 3 of us back on again. Maybe even some more people. We'll do some tier list videos or some power ranking videos or some discussion
Yeah.
videos. Just some fun stuff in the break over the next month, because it's going to be a bit of a dry spell with One Piece content. And you can tell, as One Piece fans, we've been drinking too well for 23 years. Right, we need to keep it up. And that right, guys.
Absolutely.
Alright.
Absolutely.
Peace. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Have a damn good day. Thank you for coming by. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon for more notifications for content like this. Give the video a thumbs up and all that good stuff. Make sure to check out the links for all of our other content and details and all that stuff. Peace. Have a damn good day. Goodbye.